Pokemon Ninjutsu Master Chapter 801-850. Chapter 801. Ichigo didn't want to go, but the Wanderer said so he couldn't refuse, so he agreed. It was great. The Wanderer was as happy as a little princess. Ichigo was dissatisfied and complained quietly to Luokan, "Why do you say it's my idea? I don't want to see any Guanyin temple." Luokan smiled lightly and didn't say anything. He knew that Ichigo cared about his family the most, so when the Wanderer and Xiaoli made a request to him, Ichigo would definitely agree. Just like that, the Ichigo family came to the performance site after dinner, an abandoned one. The reporter was ready, and the surrounding audience also surrounded the hospital with 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. As soon as I saw so many people, I regretted it. "Hey, Ichigo, you are here." Asano greeted Ichigo. Ichigo's reaction was very cold, he just raised his hand and said nothing. Suze and Chato suddenly appeared from behind Ichigo and greeted Ichigo with the gesture of the Cannon Temple logo. "Don't greet me in this way, Tilda." Ichigo hated this action very much. Tsuka was very puzzled, not knowing what happened to Ichigo. The Wanderer hurriedly said to Shueisei, "I'm sorry, my brother is a little shy. I usually take care of you." As soon as Shueisei saw the wandering child, she forgot what Ichigo did just now. Luokan also explained for Yihu. Yihu eats a bit more at night, so don't mind. Asano, Mizuhiro and Chato are Ichigo's best friends at school, so they are also familiar with Ichigo's personality, so they don't take this trivial matter to heart. Rukia suddenly appeared, came up to Ichigo and made a sign of Cannon Temple. "What are you doing?" Ichigo's tone was full of impatience and anger. Rukia originally wanted to make Ichigo happy, but I didn't expect Ichigo to have such an attitude, so she punched Ichigo in the head without saying a word. "What are you doing?" Ichigo asked Rukia excitedly. Rukia snorted arrogantly and left, and Luo Chen smiled helplessly. It was obvious that Rukia did this to make Ichigo happy, which means that a fool like Ichigo couldn't see it. It was almost time, all the lights around were turned on, and people came to the front to watch the performance. Suddenly, Luokan heard the voice of a soul. Ichigo rushed through the crowd and rushed to the front. Sure enough, he saw a ghost at the hospital's door, but an iron chain was tied to his body. Diaresis, hurry up and turn him into a Buddha." Ichigo looked around for Rukia. Rukia squeezed to the front after she didn't need it, and suddenly saw Ichigo's anxious face, and kicked out subconsciously. "What are you doing?" Ichigo asked excitedly. He encountered a lot of inexplicable things today. Rukia embarrassedly, "All right," scratched her head and said, "It's nothing, your face is so terrifying, so subconsciously I regard you as an enemy." Ichigo's face darkened instantly, but now is not the time to quarrel. Ichigo pointed to the soul in front of the hospital and said to Rukia, "Hurry up and kill me, I want to turn that guy into a Buddha." Luokan stretched out his hand to block between the two. Ichigo looked at Luokan suspiciously, not knowing what he meant. Chapter 802. Luokan asked Ichigo to take a look at the surrounding environment. There was no way for so many people to start. "As long as I become a god of death, there will be no problem." Ichigo replied disdainfully. Rukia also did not agree with Ichigo's approach. They came out today to relax Ichigo, so they didn't plan to make Ichigo deified. "Did you just watch this soul become empty?" Ichigo asked excitedly. He didn't want to make things troublesome and then solve them. Of course, Rukia had already thought of this, and explained to Ichigo, "It doesn't matter. It usually takes half a year for a soul to turn into an emptiness, and it will be very painful when it becomes an emptiness." Signs of pain. When Ichigo saw his soul, he really didn't feel any pain at all. Instead, he kept yelling at Guanyin Temple. "Ichigo, just relax tonight, a good rest can help you fight better." Luo Chen said lightly. Ichigo thought about what Luo Chen said was reasonable. He was indeed too nervous during this period. Let him relax today. It's a pity that things often go beyond people's expectations. Guanyin Temple actually poked the hole in the chest of the soul with the stick in its hand, which accelerated the blurring of the soul. What is that idiot doing? Ichigo looked at Guanyin Temple nervously. Rukia also became nervous, and said excitedly, "This will only accelerate the blurring, so stop quickly." When Ichigo heard it, he rushed out immediately, and the people from the TV station couldn't let Ichigo come out to make trouble at such a critical moment, so they quickly called the security to bring Ichigo under control. Rukia quickly put on her gloves and shouted to Ichigo, "Come here quickly, I'll help you turn into a god of death." When the security guard saw that Ichigo had an accomplice, he held Rukia down without saying a word. Luckily, Luokan didn't have any impulses. It hurt to think about Rukia and Ichigo being pressed to the ground by so many people, but he couldn't let things go on like this. "Master Guanyin Temple, I have a question I want to ask, can you help me answer it?" Luokan couldn't think of a good solution. Unexpectedly, Guanyin Temple really looked towards Luokan, but when he turned around, he just broke the chain in front of the soul. Soul made a painful voice and cried out loudly. Guanyin Temple laughed happily, put on a classic gesture, and said to Luokan, "Okay, boy, now I've turned it into a Buddha. If you have any questions, ask them out loud." The soul did disappear after a loud cry, but a force gradually gathered in the air. A phantom appeared on the top floor of the hospital and shouted loudly at Guanyin Temple. Luokan sighed helplessly. He didn't know why things suddenly became like this. Before, Ichigo might as well turn his soul into a Buddha. "Master Guanyin Temple, run quickly." Luo Chen saw Shu rushing towards Guanyin Temple, and quickly reminded Guanyin Temple to escape. But Guanyin Temple didn't notice the emptiness on his head, and said proudly, "Young man, I can't run, let me clear all your doubts for you." Seeing that Shu was about to hurt Guanyin Temple, at this critical moment, Ichigo got rid of a large number of security guards and rushed to Guanyin Temple, and Shu's attack was nullified. Naturally, the surrounding audience didn't know that Shu attacked Guanyin Temple, and thought it was Ichigo who hurt Guanyin Temple. Chapter 803. Luokan also rescued Rukia when Ichigo drew everyone's attention to him. Rukia had already put on her gloves and was ready to help Ichigo deify. However, Ichigo couldn't leave Guanyin Temple alone. When he was struggling, Guanyin Temple said, "Young man, it turns out that you can see this kind of thing, so let me go and don't care about me." Saying that, Guanyin Temple got rid of a guardian and rushed out to Shu. "Idiot," Ichigo scolded secretly, and hurried to Rukia's side. Luokan frowned. Now his actions will be seen by other people, so he will definitely be featured on TV, and there will be constant trouble at that time. "System, Soul," Luo Chen said to the system. The system immediately activates soulification, so that the falling dust will not be recorded by the camera and will not be seen by people. Luo Chen immediately rushed out without any worries, and was beaten violently at Shu. "You can see this kind of thing. Boy, are you interested in forming a team with me?" Guanyin Temple was very surprised. "Today, I saw two people with superpowers like myself." With the black line on Luo Chen's face, he didn't want to have any contact with such a person. "No, go away." Luokan was also a little annoyed at Guanyin Temple, and didn't particularly like his character. The most important thing is that due to the stupidity of Guanyin Temple, today's originally easy time was destroyed. At this time, a reporter who did not know the truth explained to everyone, "Look, Guanyin Temple is talking loudly with something. Let's cheer on Master Guanyin Temple together, and help Master drive out bad things together." When Luokan heard the reporter's words, he immediately wanted to leave him for a while. He obviously saved Guanyin Temple, how could he become a bad thing? It was too much. Boom. In the end, Luokan couldn't hold back and attacked the reporter, but this behavior was also understood by people as revenge for bad things, and he trusted Guanyin Temple even more. "What are you doing?" Ichigo asked Luo Chen loudly when he saw Luo Chen attack the innocent reporter. Luokan let out a terrifying breath and said to Ichigo, "Do you have any opinion?" Not only Ichigo, but all the audience at the scene felt the aura emanating from Luokan, and now they believed even more that Guanyin Temple was fighting something. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Roar tilde. Shu has been watching for a long time. This is his special performance, and he was actually left aside by several of them. Luokan was in a state of anger right now. He punched Shu in the air, and directly sent Shu into the hospital. With the sound of boom, the people around could not see Luokan and Ichigo, so they thought that Guanyin Temple had done something to push back the bad things. 0. Guanyin Temple, Guanyin Temple. There were shouts around the hospital, and they now believed more that Guanyin Temple could help them drive away evil spirits. Looking at the people around who didn't know the truth, Ichigo was very speechless, and said to Luokan, "Calm down, this will hurt the audience." Luo Chen gave Ichigo a stern look. He was in a state of rampage now, and he didn't want to hear other people making irresponsible remarks about him. Hurry up and escape. Seeing that Luokan had already rushed into the hospital, Yinu asked Guanyin Temple to escape quickly. 100 million. Chapter 804. Guanyin Temple had no intention of running away. As a beloved exorcist, how could he escape at such a critical moment? Ichigo had already run into the hospital one step ahead of time, and when he felt Luokan beside him, he saw that Shu had been beaten to death by Luokan. It's amazing. Ichigo was stunned, but he didn't expect Luo Chen to beat Tsuji like this with his bare hands. When Luokan saw Yihu, he thought that he was still in the 230 special training period, and he was going to let Yihu take this virtual practice. Of course Ichigo was very excited. He raised his Zanpakudo and was about to slash the void. Unexpectedly, the height of the hospital corridor was too low, and Ichigo's Zanpakudo was stuck on the ceiling and couldn't move. This is also something Luo Chen didn't expect, so he looked at Ichigo helplessly. At this time, Shu realized that the two were negligent in taking precautions, so he took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Ichigo. Cannonball. XXX. A small energy ball slowly rushed to Ichigo and hit Shu, and when Shu was hit, his action immediately slowed down. Why did you come here? Luo Chen was very surprised when he saw Guanyin Temple. He was just an ordinary person, and there was no way to deal with this kind of emptiness. However, Guanyin Temple confidently gave Luo Chen and Ichigo a thumbs up, and said proudly, "You two have done a good job, so leave it to me." "I'll leave it to you." Ichigo got angry and pulled out the Zanpakudo, but the ceiling fell and a huge hole appeared. "Ichigo goes out to fight, you won't be able to exert your strength here," Luokan reminded. Ichigo jumped out immediately, but Shu launched an attack at Guanyin Temple. Guanyin Temple was beating Shu with a stick, and Luo Chen could feel that there was some soul power on the stick, but it was a little hard to hurt Shu. "You don't want to cause us any more trouble," Luo Chen said. He stepped forward and carried the Guanyin Temple to the roof of the hospital. Shu Natural followed and rushed out, but Luokan's words made Guanyin Temple very hard. He has always been the object of worship, but he didn't expect to become a drag on others today. "Well, you don't have to be so lost, Master Guanyin Temple." Luokan really couldn't stand the sense of loss emanating from Guanyin Temple. Guanyin Temple didn't say anything, just kept sighing. At the same time, Ichigo was fighting against Shu. In such a spacious place, I thought Ichigo would be able to show his true strength, but he didn't want to be repelled by Shu. Dang tilde, Ichigo's Zanpakudo left his hand and fell to the ground. Shu just took advantage of this time to attack Ichigo, so Luokan rushed to rescue, but Guanyin Temple rushed out first, raised a stick and shouted loudly, the ultimate meaning of Guanyin Temple, cannon. A small white ball appeared on the top of the stick. Although the movement was slow, the virtual was rushing towards this side and was hit by the small white ball. The action of Shu, who was hit by the small white ball, became extremely slow, and Ichigo took this opportunity to pick up the Zanpakudo, and then looked at Shu without hesitation. Seeing that he was about to slash at Shu, I didn't expect the effect of the cannon to expire, so Shu hurriedly ran back, and Ichigo just chopped off Shu's mask. This is... Guanyin Temple was shocked to see Shu's true face, which was the soul that he had turned into a Buddha before. Chapter 805. Luokan walked up to the Guanyin Temple and explained, "What you call Buddhahood is just to make the soul become empty, and let them hurt human beings." Guanyin Temple was completely devastated by this news. He couldn't believe that what he had been doing all along was useless, and he also brought danger to people. "Ichigo, let him see what true Buddhahood is," Luokan said lightly. Ichigo was also ready. He raised his Zanpakuto high and rushed towards Shu. He raised his sword and dropped it, killing him with one blow. Shu's painful roar sounded very painful. 22. Slowly, Shu's figure disappeared, and Luo Chen said to Guanyin Temple, "He has already gone to where he should be, so hurry down and enjoy everyone's applause." Guanyin Temple now knows the truth of the matter. How can it continue to enjoy this glory? "Go ahead, although I don't like you either, but now you know that you can correct your mistakes and lead everyone to the right path." Ichigo also began to persuade Guanyin Temple. Guanyin Temple looked at the two people excitedly, not knowing what to say, but in the end it just turned into a classic action. Ichigo didn't like this move, so he kicked Guanyin Temple off the roof without saying a word. "Ichigo!" Luokan cried out helplessly, and quickly jumped down to save Guanyin Temple. Ichigo said helplessly, "Who made him do that suddenly?" The screams of Guanyin Temple came from the air. All the audience broke into a cold sweat for him, and they were extremely worried. At this moment, Luo Chen steadily caught the Guanyin Temple, and then slowly lowered it to the ground. "Everyone, look, Master Guanyin Temple is standing on the ground steadily. What a miraculous thing, let us all applaud him together." There was warm applause around, and Guanyin Temple said softly to Luokan, "Thank you." Luokan walked back to the crowd indifferently and showed his figure, and said to Rukia, "It's all settled, but Ichigo needs to strengthen special training." Rukia's expression was also very solemn. She clapped her hands, and said seriously, "Yes, I have to teach that kid a lesson." Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, wondering what happened to Rukia suddenly. Guanyin Temple announced to the audience that the annihilation operation was successful. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly reached a climax, and the audience shouted the name of Guanyin Temple one after another. All the performances were over and people started to go home. When Luokan was about to leave, the Guanyin Temple suddenly appeared. "Master Guanyin Temple," the wanderer said excitedly. Luokan raised his eyebrows, a bad premonition welled up in his heart, and said to Guanyin Temple, "What do you want to do?" Guanyin Temple suddenly knelt on the ground and said to Luokan, "Please accept me as only." "What?" Wanderer and Sha Li screamed. Ichigo scolded, "Idiot," lightly, while Rukia looked at Kannon Temple with disdain. She only has prejudice against Guanyin Temple now, who made him let himself be pinned to the ground by so many security guards. "I don't want it." Luokan refused, and then walked in the direction of home. Guanyin Temple would not give up like this, and shouted to Luokan's back, "Master, one day I will let you accept me as a disciple." Luo Chen didn't think that day would come. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 806. Day by day, the time that Ishida Yuryu and Ichigo agreed on soon arrived. On this day, Luokan followed Ichigo to the place agreed by the two. "How about it? It's too late to admit defeat now, it may make you lose very badly if you wait," Ishida Yulong said firmly. "Ichigo has worked hard for this game these days, so he will never lose." "Then I'll start," Ishida Yulong said and threw a strange object into the air. I saw a lot of emptiness instantly appear in the air, and they rushed towards the strange things. "What a high ability!" Luo Chen looked at the strange object floating in the air and said in surprise. Ishida Yulong pushed his glasses and said, of course, this is a collection of spiritual powers specially used by the Quincy family to fight. You use such a precious thing just to have a showdown with Ichigo. Luokan really couldn't understand Ishida Yulong's concept. Ishida Yulong is naturally measured, and he has not been impulsive enough to destroy the efforts of his ancestors to destroy the ancestors for the sake of a god of death. Of course it's a substitute I made. Oh, it turned out to be a fake, then I'm relieved. Luo Chen patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Ichigo became impatient when he saw the two of them saying a word, and he didn't care about them anymore, and rushed over to Shu with the Zanpakuto. 1, 2, 3. After Luokan's training in the past few days, Ichigo is obviously a lot more skilled, and the way of attacking has also become professional. Ishida Yuryu was surprised by Ichigo's growth, but he wouldn't admit defeat like that. Whoosh whoosh. Ishida Yulong shot 3 arrows in a row, and each arrow perfectly killed Shu. Such precise shooting ability cannot be achieved in a short period of time. Luo Chen was very bored watching the match between the two, and suddenly found that Shu started running around the town uncontrollably. What's the situation? Shouldn't they be attracted by the substitutes you made? Luo Chen asked in surprise. Ishida Yulong's expression suddenly became very serious. He had realized that he had made a mistake, and a substitute is a substitute after all. I won't let Shu hurt innocent people. Saying that, Ishida Yulong had already chased out. Naturally, Ichigo refused to admit defeat, holding the Zanpakuto frantically slashing at the emptiness on the street. Although Ishida Yuryu and Ichigo are trying their best to eliminate the virtuals, some of the virtuals still slip through the net, and it is time for Luokan to appear. Diaresis 9 tails, clear them up. Luo Chen gave the order and Juwei launched a huge fireball to destroy Zuji. Yeah, you're all enjoying yourself, and I really want to do some exercise. Luo Chen looked at a few people fighting and felt ignited, and was about to catch Shu and move his muscles and bones. 2 dudes just happened to run out, and Luo Chen was so happy that he immediately chased after them. Huo done, how fireball. Luo Chen dropped the 9 tails on the spot, so there was no good way to use the Zanpakuto, so he could only use ninjutsu to attack. As soon as the fireball came out, the virtual nature was destroyed, but one still escaped. When Luo Chen was preparing a fireball, Shu had disappeared. I've suffered. Luokan is now in the town, and there are people everywhere. If this is false, people will definitely suffer. Chadu, Susan Asano suddenly approached each other, and they greeted excitedly when they saw Luokan. Chapter 807. Luokan, what are you doing here? Do you want to have dinner with us? Asano walked to Luokan and asked. Luokan felt the air of emptiness, and immediately pushed Asano and said loudly, run. Both Asano and Suze were dumbfounded. They didn't know what happened to Luokan, but the next second, a huge pit appeared in front of Luokan. What's the situation? Asano and Suime hugged each other tightly in fright, their faces pale and didn't know what to do. Luokan wanted to use ninjutsu, but there were people around, so it would be very troublesome to deal with later. Damn, hurry up and run. Luo Chen had no choice but to fight Shu with his bare hands. Luckily, Luo Chen's physique didn't fall off, and finally, with a single blow of the shadowless palm, Zuji was knocked down in the shop beside him. Phew, it's done. Luo Chen snapped his fingers in satisfaction. Unexpectedly, this kind of Shu was so tenacious that he actually got up again, and there was Chadu next to him. Roar tilde, bluffing his teeth and claws, he launched an attack on Chadu. Luokan hurriedly asked Chadu to escape, and Chadu seemed to sense something, so he quickly avoided the attack. It's so fast. Luo Chen was really surprised that a normal person could have such a speed. Suddenly Luokan remembered that he had given Chadu medicine before, and now Chadu should still be able to feel some emptiness. Roar tilde, a virtual blow. It is natural to continue to pursue after hitting empty. Luokan wouldn't give him such a chance, so he immediately ran forward to seize Shu, and the people passing by looked at Luokan strangely and started talking. Now that the situation is critical, Luokan can't estimate the buzz around him, and he's ready to deal with this dummy before things get worse. Shu seemed to know that he was threatened with his life, and an astonishing force erupted, escaped from Luo Chen's hands, and rushed towards Chadu fiercely. Chadu's reaction was also very fast. After dodging, he ran towards the distance. Roar tilde, Shu even followed Chadu and ran away. Strange, why is this Shu only chasing Chadu alone? Luo Chen asked suspiciously. The system explained, Chadu has a power different from ordinary people in his body, and it should be this power that attracts Shu to away. It turned out to be like this. Luo Chen quickly chased after him. Although Chadu can feel the existence of emptiness, Chadu is still an ordinary person and cannot compete with such a powerful emptiness. Luokan chased him for a long time but couldn't catch him. Now he was depressed. He really didn't know why Chadu was able to run so much, and why Shu was so able to chase him. Host, you can turn on the writing mode, and the speed can be doubled. The voice of the system came. Then turn it on. Wait, the mount you're talking about isn't the Nine Tails, right? Luo Chen asked the Nine Tails to deal with the emptiness over there. If he were to be summoned, his workload would definitely increase again. The system answered affirmatively. Yes, you currently only have 9 tails and 1 mount. Luokan was dumbfounded for a moment. What else could he say? He really regretted not grabbing a few more mounts in this world. XXX. Luokan has admitted his failure, and he made up his mind to grab a few mounts after this matter is dealt with, so that it would be too embarrassing to encounter such a situation again. Chapter 28. The Demonstration of Ability 2. Luo Chen sank into his dantian, and went to catch up, and finally found Chadu and Shu in a sparsely traveled park, with Shaoli on the side. Shaoli. Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, and quickly let the system give him a soul. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 808. Even though Luokan has turned into a soul, Shaoli can still see Luokan. Brother Luokan, why are you here? Shaya saw that Luokan ran a question and answer with a gasping appearance. Luokan was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Shaoli to be able to see him. Sure enough, the spirit power of the Ichigo family was abnormally high. Shaoli, run. Luo Chen saw Shu Shang Shaoli's attack, and loudly reminded him. When Shaoli turned her head and saw Shu, it was too late to run away, but fortunately Chadu on the side rescued Shaoli in time. What is that? Why would I see this kind of thing? Shaoli was very resistant to the emptiness in front of her. She was just a little girl, why should she suffer this kind of experience? Chadu was very surprised. He didn't expect Ichigo's sister to be able to see Shu, so he told Shaoli to run away. Then what do you do? Shaoli was worried that Chadu was here alone. At this time, Luo Chen was naturally fighting with Shu Jiyu, because there were scattered people around, so Luo Chen couldn't let go of his hands. Brother Luokan. Shaoli was very worried when she saw Luokan and Shu Gudo fighting together. Luokan shouted loudly, quickly take everyone around you away, and don't let them know what's going on here. Shaoli immediately started to act after hearing it, but the people around her just took her words as a joke, and in the end she used Chadu's appearance to scare people away. You are amazing. Shaoli praised Chadu awkwardly. Chadu was expressionless, didn't say anything, pointed to the empty place and asked Shaoli to tell him the situation of the battle. Ever since Luo Chen became a soul, he has not been able to see the battle between the two, only a very, very vague feeling. Hey, Luokan, hurry up and give me the medicine I took last time. Chadu shouted at Luokan, and he also wanted to fight. Luokan was very speechless. He didn't open a pharmacy, so he could have it, but now is not the time to talk about it. Shaoli, please take Chadu away, don't come back. Luokan said loudly, and they were even more unable to let go of their hands and feet here. Shaoli grabbed Chadu's hand and was about to run, but Chadu stood there very firmly and motionless. What's wrong with you? Shaoli looked at Chadu suspiciously. Chadu said firmly, I want to stay and help. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. He didn't help Shibata last time. In the end, he could make Shibata leave the world with regret. This time, he must not ask for help. Alright then, I'll help you. Shali actually wanted to help Luokan, but she was too weak to help. Now that she had Chadu, she would naturally stay. Chadu glanced at Shali, and found that her eyes were stirring the same firmness as his own. 0. Didn't you see that monster? I'll show you the way. Shali said and ran to Chadu's shoulder. Chadu was so grateful that he didn't know what to say, and finally turned it into a sentence. You have to hold me tight. Just like that, Chadu and Shali joined the battle together, which surprised Luokan very much. Because of surprise, Luokan accidentally fell off Shu's body, and abruptly came a kissing performance. Really, why don't you two run away? Luo Chen pouted and complained. This time he fell hard. Chadu and Shali didn't have time to reply to Shaya's words, and with their unusual tacit understanding, the two even fought to a tie with Shu. 100 million. Chapter 809. Hey, the two of you have quite a set. As soon as Luo Chen's voice fell, Shali and Chadu were knocked aside. Shali got out of the way. Chadu reluctantly raised his head to protect Shali, but still fainted. Luokan sighed helplessly, scolding himself for being a fool in his heart, and actually wanted to rely on the strength of the two of them to fight Shu. Okay, now I'll get you out of the way. Luokan had already weakened Shu a lot before, so Chadu and Shali were able to tie Shu to a tie. Roar tilde, Shu may have gained confidence by defeating Shali and Chadu just now, so he gathered all the strength of his body into his fists. I can't forgive, my fist is there to protect people. Chadu actually stood up, and armor appeared on his right arm. What's the situation? What's the matter? Luo Chen was completely stunned by this series of accidents. I saw Chadu raised his fist high and punched Shu hard, and Shu's punch blocked everything. With a sound of boom, Shu was actually knocked away by Chadu. Ah, Luo Chen was really surprised to see this scene. Originally, this was the moment when he showed his handsomeness, but he was preempted by others, and there was an indescribable unwillingness in his heart. Seeing Shu Kongxin standing up, Luo Chen didn't care anymore. His hands quickly formed a seal, and shouted loudly, Fire escape, the art of fireball. With a whoosh, a huge fireball rushed towards Shu, and Shu was burned to death in the fire. Yes, Luo Chen nodded in satisfaction when he saw Shu being burned to death. Shali slowly opened her eyes, saw a strange thing on Chadu's shoulder and asked in surprise, You, what's wrong with you? You won't be possessed by that monster, right? Only then did Chadu glance at his arm, then flicked the armor lightly and disappeared again. Ding tilde get the achievement of the witness and reward me with an amber pill. The system's voice sounded in Luo Chen's mind. Luokan quickly opened his backpack to check the effect of amber pill. Item name, Amber Dan. Item function, the user can permanently increase the power of the fist, and under the condition of maximum power, it can explode 200% of the power. Luokan was completely speechless. This amber pill did not fit him at first sight. He raised his head to look at Chadu's strong arm, and gave the amber pill to Chadu in a heartbroken manner. Hey, can you please not give out this kind of reward? Luo Chen was going to be so angry that he used the two rewards for Chadu, and he began to suspect that the system was exclusive to Chadu. The system is also very helpless. It provides the most basic things that everyone needs, but Luo Chen doesn't like it. The most important thing is that there is always someone who needs it next to him. Forget it, Luokan doesn't even bother to get angry with the system now, and Shu's affairs have been dealt with. He still has to go back to watch the match between Ichigo and Ishida Yulong. Chadu, Shali will ask you to send it back. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 810. As soon as Luokan's words fell on Chadu, he fell to the ground, which frightened Luokan, so he quickly stepped forward and asked the system to help check the situation of Chadu. It's okay, he just fell asleep after exhausting his strength. The system gave a diagnosis. I fell asleep. Luokan felt a flock of crows flying overhead. When Xiaoli saw that Luo Chen wanted to leave, she said to Luo Chen, "Brother Luokan, leave him to me, and I will stay and take care of him." That's not good. Luokan guessed that if Ichigo knew about this, he would definitely blame himself. Xiaoli showed an innocent smile and took Luo Chen's hand to let him hurry up with his own business. Okay then. Before Luo Chen left, he moved Chadu to the bench beside him. Luokan took a step and looked back, for fear that Xiaoli would not be able to do it alone. Gradually, Luokan could no longer see Xiaoli and Chadu, and when he was about to leave, he felt the voice of Shu again. What's the situation? Can't you just let me rest? Luo Chen helplessly sighed and complained. Complaining was complaining, and Luo Chen quickly ran in the direction of Shu. When Luokan arrived at the school, he found that the aura of emptiness came from inside, and there were still many students in the school at this time. Damn it! Luo Chen quickly contacted Nine Tails. Why are there so many ghosts running out, and what's going on with you? Luo Chen communicated with Nine Tails using telepathy. Kyubi was also very helpless. He tried his best to stop it, but there were still many ghosts running out, and he wanted to destroy this town. Luokan listened to Juwei's complaint and quickly comforted Juwei. If it really destroys the town by being unhappy, then the responsibility must be Luokan. Don't worry, Master, I'm just complaining. Luo Chen was caught off guard by Juwei's sudden cuteness. Luo Chen couldn't stand the Nine Tails like this, so he cut off the contact directly and concentrated on finding the emptiness in the school. A scream came from a distance, and Luo Chen went immediately. Orgg, Longs. Luokan shouted loudly without hesitation. He even forgot that he had been transformed into a soul now, and they couldn't see him. Luokan, is you. Long Zegui heard the voice very familiar, but he felt a little guilty when he didn't see Luokan's figure. Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, and quickly let the system dissolve his soul, and only then did he appear in front of everyone. Wow, classmate Luokan, your magic is amazing. Long Zegui praised Luokan with excitement. Luo Chen's face was speechless, but it was better than being treated as a monster by others. He asked, "Who screamed just now?" Long Zegui pointed to the broken glass beside him, and said lightly, "Did you come here specifically to save me?" It's really surprising. Luokan's face was not very good looking. He saw a very ugly plant-shaped void floating on the second floor of the teaching building. The important thing was that there were many tentacles. It's disgusting. Luo Chen couldn't help but say it. Long Zegui immediately became petrified on the spot. She couldn't see the emptiness and naturally thought that Luo Chen was saying that she was disgusting, and the girl's heart was instantly shattered into scum. That's too much, classmate Luokan, how can you talk to Longs like this? Orihime was naturally defending Longs. What? Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 811. When Luo Chen lowered his head, he realized that Long Zegui was petrified. He thought it was a fake, and shouted angrily, "You will die for me." Orihime didn't expect Luokan to have such an attitude, but she also felt that there were strange things around her. It's okay, Orihime, I know Luokan doesn't like this kind of girl. I'm willing to change for him. From today on, I will be a free and easy girl. Long Zegui looked pitifully at Luokan in front of him and made up his mind. Decided to become what Luo Chen likes. However, Luo Chen didn't listen to these words at all, and his attention was all on Shu. Yo, I didn't expect you to see me, but I hate violence the most, why don't you let them play with you? As he spoke, he threw out a lot of bugs with his hands, and these bugs immediately searched for the students in private to gnaw on them. For a while, there was screaming in the school. What's wrong with everyone? Orihime was very scared as she watched the heads of the people around her lay down one by one. Long Zegui had already made up his mind to be a cool girl. Naturally, he couldn't be afraid of such an environment. He hugged Orihime and said confidently, "Don't be afraid of Orihime, I will protect you, Tilda." Orihime was very moved. From the time they met, it was Long Zegui who was protecting her. She would never forget that. Luokan happened to hear Long Zegui's words, and said excitedly, "You too, hurry up and leave it to me." When Long Zegui heard Luokan's words, he was instantly attracted by his tall image. He didn't expect that he would gain Luokan's love after changing his image so quickly. "No, I'm going to fight with you here." XXX. Long Zegui thought it was his cool girl character that inspired Luo Chen's idea, so he wanted to add another fire to make Luo Chen like him more. Orihime could feel the aura of emptiness, so she wanted to drag Ryazaki to run away. "Longs, let's leave." How could Long Zegui give up such a good opportunity? She wanted to impress Luokan more, so she rejected Oriji's request. At this moment, the surrounding classmates got up one after another and rushed towards Luokan together. "What's wrong with you?" Luo Chen looked at the people around him with signs of insect bites, and suspected that they were being controlled. After systematic analysis, the result was the same as Luokan imagined. "What can I do? Long-san, you have to protect Orihime-san." After Luo Chen said that, he punched Shu in the air. The system told Luokan that as long as he destroyed the virtual body, the other students could return to their original state, so Luokan asked Long Zegui to protect Orihime. Long Zegui was overjoyed when he heard Luokan say that to himself, and immediately said excitedly, Diaresis, yes, I will definitely protect Orihime." Even if Luokan didn't tell her, she would still protect Orihime. Who made them good friends? Luokan's fist can only shoot out a few air waves. This kind of attack obviously has no effect on Shu, and he can't use fireballs, which makes Luokan embarrassed. "Ah Tilda," Orihime suddenly screamed, and she was caught by other classmates. "Orihime." Long Zegui kicked all the surrounding students away with a flying kick, then tightly guarded Orihime and said firmly, "I won't let you hurt Orihime." Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 812. Luokan was very moved when he saw Long Zegui fighting hard, and now he has no reason not to fight well. "Okay, let the horses come over." Luo Chen sank into his dantian, raised his hands high, and hit the ground with all his strength. Swipe a sparkling air wave into the air void. Long Zegui said excitedly when he saw Luokan's attack, "Ah. This is Luokan's loving response to me." Orihime buckled her face and said embarrassedly, "It doesn't seem like that." Whether it's not important anymore, it's fine in Long Zegui's land anyway. Ah. Long Zegui is also getting stronger and stronger. She wants to completely conquer Luokan through today's performance and make him fall in love with her deeply. Long Zegui swept all the classmates around. Although these people have been controlled by the virtual, their power will not change, and they are still not the opponents of Long Zegui. "Longs, you are amazing," Orihime praised. Long Zi scratched his head and said nothing, then turned to look at Luo Chen. "I saw Luokan attacking the air incessantly, but the power was still somewhat insufficient." "Don't be so violent. I hate fighting the most. This virtual land is not very capable of fighting, but it is very agile. In such a long-term battle, it was only due to carelessness at the beginning." As Shu said, he slowly floated down from the air, and slowly walked towards Orihime. This whereabouts Chen didn't dare to use his ultimate move easily, and if he didn't get it right, it would hurt Orihime and Ryazaki. "Oriji, Longs run quickly!" Luo Chen shouted loudly. Orihime could feel Shujung rushing over here, while Longs was posing as a battle. She finally gained the goodwill of Luokan. How could she escape so easily? "Caught you!" Shu faced Longzi's left fist and leg, and flexibly swayed his body to dodge smoothly. "Damn, I can't move." Longs was finally entangled by Shu, and no matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't rely on Shu's restraint. Orihime took 2 steps back in panic, widened her eyes and stretched out her hand, trying to rescue Longzegui. "Hurry up and leave me alone." Longzi shouted loudly. She could no longer control her body and was afraid of doing things that would hurt Orihime. Luokan quickly took Orihime aside, frowned at Shu, and asked loudly, "What do you want? Let go of Longs quickly." Shu suddenly laughed grimly, and it came up with a good idea. So he raised his tentacles and controlled Longzegui to walk towards Orihime. Don't, Orihime, Luokan, run away quickly." Longzegui seemed to have sensed something and shouted loudly. How could Orihime and Luokan leave her alone, standing there without moving? "Ha ha ha, let you both die at the hands of your best friend." Shu laughed frantically. Longzegui was stunned for a moment. She couldn't accept the fact that she personally hurt her friend. Suddenly, an astonishing force erupted, and she raised a high punch and punched herself. Longzegui would rather hurt himself than hurt his friends, so he let himself lose his strength, so as to avoid hurting Orihime and Luokan. Longzi. Luo Chen was very moved by Longzegui's actions, and he also made up his mind to fight with all his strength regardless of other people's eyes. Longzi. Orihime watched Longzegui fall slowly in front of her eyes and was very excited. She clenched her fists tightly, and a huge burst of energy suddenly burst out. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 813. Luokan turned his head and saw that the hairpin on Orihime's head turned into 6 rays of light and flew into the air, and then 6 unknown creatures appeared. "Hello, Orihime." A little thing greeted Orihime kindly. Orihime blinked at the creature in front of her and asked, "Who are you?" The system gave Luo Chen a detailed information. Dunshin Liuhua, the soul power hidden in the card issued on Juji's head, because she sensed the resentment in Juji's heart and received guidance to come to help out. "Orihime, hurry up and use their power," Luo Chen said loudly. Orihime was taken aback for a moment. It was really unacceptable to let herself use the power of such a thing so suddenly. Shu didn't give Orihime time to react, so he immediately attacked Orihime with his tentacles. Pa! Luokan quickly stood in front of Orihime, grabbing Shu's tentacles with both hands. Tsubaki Morikawa Tamayuki rudely shouted to Orihime, "Call our names quickly and deal with this guy." Orihime blinked. She had no idea what these things were called. Shubat has many tentacles. Even if Luo Chen grabs 2 tentacles, there are others that can be used. The tentacles quickly approached Oriji, and seeing that she was about to catch Oriji, a girl with double braided hair said to Oriji, "Follow me, Huo Wuju." Mei Yan, Lily of the Valley, 3-day not shield, I refuse. Orihime hurriedly recited it, and saw the 3 of them quickly open a shield in front of Orihime. After the virtual tentacle touched the shield, it immediately bounced back. "Now call me by my name, Shuniing, Chenghu, Shuangtian Gaiden, I refuse." Chenghu continued. Orihime recited it immediately, and as soon as she finished speaking, Shuniing and Chenghu immediately flew to Longzegui's head and feet, and a protective shield was born between the 2 of them. Our ability is to heal others. Your classmates have nothing to do. You can fight with confidence, Iris said to Orihime with a smile. Tsubaki impatiently yelled at Orihime, "Call my name quickly and get rid of it." Orihime put her hand on her mouth and took a candid photo. She didn't know his name. Chenghu kindly reminded, "He is a ghost, read the ghost with me to cut off the ghost and I refuse." Orihime recited it. Over and over, Chungui immediately slashed into a blade and flew towards Shu. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. I saw that Shu was chopped in half by Chungui with 2 or 3 blows. Luokan looked at Dunshin only Liuhua in surprise, and really wanted to have this ability. "Okay Orihime, call us if you need any help from us. Goodbye." After saying that, the 6 little figures flew into the air and turned into hairpins and landed on Orihime's head. Luokan looked at the hairpin on Orihime's hair and said lightly, "It seems that we will become companions in the future, please advise." Orihime blinked, stretched out her hand, and just laughed twice. At this time, Long Zegui woke up, and saw Orihime and Luokan holding hands with each other and became jealous. "What's the situation with the two of you? What happened while I was in a coma?" Long Zegui shouted excitedly. Luo Chen made a booing gesture at him. He didn't want to know the truth if he could leave. 100 million. Chapter 814. Orihime naturally didn't want Long Zegui to be in danger, so she immediately laughed. What are you two hiding from me?" Long Zegui was very nervous when he saw the closeness of the two. Luokan saw that Long Zegui was fine, so he was ready to leave. "I'll leave it to you next, I'll take a step first," Luo Chen said, waving his hand away. Long Zegui stretched out a hand in the direction that Luo Chen left, and said reluctantly, "You haven't told me that you like me yet." Orihime smiled and comforted. "Don't worry, you will catch up with classmate Luokan. He just said you were very brave." When Long Zegui heard this, he immediately regained his spirits, and his whole person seemed to have changed. After Luokan left the school, he quickly searched for Ichigo, and finally found it 15 minutes later. During these 15 minutes, Luokan spent 13 minutes resting and 2 minutes searching. "Ichigo, what's the situation on your side? Why are there so many falsehoods?" According to Luokan's prediction, Ichigo and Ishida Yuryu should have wiped out these falsehoods long ago, and the winner should have been decided, but unfortunately they didn't. How could Ichigo know the answer to this kind of question? He has already tried his best to kill Shu, but there will always be a steady stream of Shu. At this time, Ishida Yulong said guiltily, "There is a problem with the energy ball. I don't know the specific reason." When Luo Chen heard this, he was dumbfounded. Sure enough, a counterfeit is a counterfeit. Alas, Luo Chen sighed helplessly. He had seen the two of them fight so happily before and wished he could join. Now that he really wants to join, he is a little unhappy. Ishida Yulong pushed his glasses and said firmly, "I won't hurt the innocent, I will deal with all these falsehoods." Ichigo frowned at Mansion-ku and shouted loudly, "You idiot, even if you break your fingers, you won't be able to kill them all." This is true, but Ishida Yulong has no other way. Swish swish. 3 arrows were fired in a row, and there was an instant loud explosion in the air, and many virtuals were implicated. "Well done," Ichigo said lightly. He now admits that Ishida Yulong has some abilities. Luokan doesn't think this has anything to praise. He saw that Ishida Yulong's fingers started to bleed after using this move, which is enough to show that this move is also harmful to the user. At this time, Yulong Ishida, who was on the ground, took no precautions, and immediately surrounded him, ready to enjoy it. It happened. Ishida Yulong frowned, and he was not sure that he would be able to retreat safely in the face of so many emptiness. Luokan was going to go to help, but Ichigo's action was a step faster. He cut a gap in the circle formed by Shu, and rushed in. It seems that the two of them get along quite well. Luo Chen didn't plan to go in when he saw this place, so he took this opportunity to give them some exercise. Ishida Yulong was very surprised to see Ichigo rushing in. "Idiot, what are you doing here? I don't need the help of the god of death." Ichigo snorted coldly and replied disdainfully, "Don't think I'm here to help you. The battle between me and you hasn't been decided yet. I won't let you die until you admit defeat." Ishida Yulong was very moved. He knew that Ichigo was helping him, and he didn't hate him so much as his acting god of death. Chapter 815. I'm not fighting with the god of death, I just give my back to a comrade in arms who can be assured. Ishida Yulong said stubbornly. XXX. Ichigo smiled lightly, he still understands Ishida Yulong's insistence. Yeah, the two shouted back to back and started fighting. The surrounding void was disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just when Luo Chen was happy for them, something suddenly happened. I saw that all the surrounding emptiness gathered towards the sky and gradually merged together. What is this? Ichigo looked at the fusion of the sky in surprise and asked. Lucia suddenly ran out from the side, looked at Ichigo and Ishida Yulong and instantly knew what happened. No, I shouldn't attract so many emptiness. Ishida Yulong injected his soul power into the energy ball, and then used it to attract emptiness. Luokan stared at the virtual group in the air suspiciously, and suddenly felt a powerful force. They won't fit together like this, will they? Luokan asked worriedly. Rukia frowned upon hearing Luokan's words, and said nervously, Dashu, this creature has only been seen in textbooks, why does it appear here? Luokan was also very puzzled, so he asked Jue to take him to the air to check the situation. It doesn't matter at this point of view, he suddenly found that the air wave he had launched before was fighting against the energy ball. So I'm the one who accomplished all this. Yes, the host, analyzing the appearance of Daxu from various aspects, has an inescapable relationship with you. The system said indifferently. Luokan was speechless for a moment. He now believed that this system was definitely sent by God to punish him. Not only the rewards were given to others, but he also said such cruel words. Master, do you need me to break that thing? Ninetales said excitedly. Luo Chen glanced at Jue and felt a lot better in an instant. Fortunately, Jue was by his side. If he wanted to point to the system to help, the world would be destroyed. Can you do it? Luokan asked with concern. The force of the collision between the airwave and the energy ball was not small. Ninetales didn't care and said, it's nothing. Saying that, Ninetales spit out a small black ball, and the small ball floated slowly in front of the energy ball and the airwave, and then swallowed the two energy in an instant. Okay, Ninetales, it's great to have you. Luo Chen said excitedly, and after eliminating this source of power, there was no more Shu running here. When Luokan returned to the ground, Rukia quickly ran up to ask, how is the situation? Luokan replied embarrassedly, it's okay, now we have to deal with this big guy in front of us. The emptiness just now has been assembled, and now it has merged into an incomparably huge emptiness. Daxu and Ninetales are a little taller than the whole picture, which is more tricky. I can defeat this ugly guy with one move. Ninetales vowed. Luokan hurriedly stopped the Ninetales. He knew that the power of the Ninetales could defeat Dashu, but the city would also disappear. Let's leave it to me. Luo Chen said helplessly. He wanted to clean up the mess for his mistakes. Rukia asked indifferently, why does it attract so many emptiness, aren't you just competing? Luokan, Ichigo and Ishida Yulong all kept their heads down and kept silent, thinking it was their own fault. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 816. Fortunately, Shu suddenly began to move at this time, and the attention of several people all turned to Dashu. I can't let it go any further, such a big size will definitely affect the town. Rukia said excitedly. Luo Chen had already turned the Ninetales into a Zanpakuto, and shouted loudly, the shackles of the Ninetales. I saw a few blood-red whips bound Daxu's hands and feet, thus preventing Daxu from advancing. Nice job, Rukia praised. Luokan smiled wryly. He blocked Dashu's advance in this way, and there was no way he could launch an attack. Ichigo, Ishida Yulong, then it's up to you. Luokan shrugged helplessly. Daxu's strength exceeded his imagination, so he had to use all the nine-tailed power to contain Daxu. Leave it to us. Ichigo replied swearingly, raised his Zanpakuto and rushed over. Ishida Yulong wanted to ask what plan Ichigo had, but before he could ask Ichigo, he rushed out, and he grabbed it subconsciously. Ishida Yulong only touched Ichigo once, and the bow in his hand immediately grew 10 times larger, and returned to its original size in the next second. Ishida Yulong was stunned for a moment. Looking at Ichigo who rushed out, he began to wonder if the abnormality of the bow just now had something to do with him. A guard raised the sword and fell, and used the Zanpakuto to cut off Daxu's foot, but unfortunately Daxu's defense ability was several levels higher than ordinary Shu. Ichigo's attack was completely ineffective, instead he was ejected by the reaction force. "Are you alright, Tilda?" Ishida Yulong hurriedly stepped forward to help Ichigo up. Ichigo shook his head, tightly holding the Zanpakuto and slashed at Daxu again. A crisp sound came out, but Daxu still had nothing to do. "Ichigo, what on earth do you think?" Ishida Yulong needed to know Ichigo's thoughts before he could help. Ichigo said earnestly, "As long as you chop off Daxu layer by layer, you'll be able to hit its head in the end." Ishida Yulong was speechless when he heard Ichigo's thoughts, and wanted him to say something good. Luo Chen shouted loudly together, "Ishida Yulong, try it with your arrow." Ishida Yulong also had this intention. He pulled Ichigo and whispered something, then quickly took out a bunch of things from behind and tied it to Ichigo's head, and finally put his spiritual bow on it. "It's done, Ichigo Ishida's final form." Yulong Ishida was very satisfied with his work. He quickly pulled the string and released a huge bow and arrow. With a swoosh, the arrow hit Daxu's face accurately and made a huge explosion sound. Diaresis, it's done. Ishida Yulong, this time, I have injected all my soul power into this attack, and I am very confident that I can defeat Dashu. However, things didn't go as expected. Daxu suddenly roared, and then launched a violent resistance. It always seemed that the attack just now hurt Daxu. "Where did you get it? It's useless at all." Ichigo rudely ripped off the things from his head, intending to continue using his own methods. "Ichigo," Ishida Yulong shouted, and he wanted to keep trying. Ichigo didn't care so much. He raised his Zanpakuto, injected his soul power, and slashed with force. Suddenly, Ichigo burst out with an astonishing soul power, and the huge soul power shocked everyone. "What kind of power is that?" Ishida Yulong asked in surprise. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 817. Rukia said lightly on the side. Normal people will control the soul power they use within a certain range in order to protect their bodies, but Ichigo obviously doesn't control their own soul power. With the help of the huge soul power, Ichigo split Daxu in half. A huge ghost door appeared behind Dashu. The huge ghost hand opened the door, and the other ghost hand stretched out Dashu, firmly grasped Dashu and grabbed into the ghost door with force. It is impossible for most people to see such a scene in a lifetime, even Rukia has only seen it once. With a snap, the ghost gate was tightly closed after Dashu entered. "It's all settled." Ishida Yulong was still in shock, his glasses were about to fall off. Just when everyone was happy, Ichigo suddenly let out a painful cry, and a large amount of soul power erupted from his body. "Ichigo!" Luokan shouted worriedly, and hurriedly stepped forward to check the situation. Rukia explained, "Although all the power burst out in an instant can improve the soul power, it is very dangerous for people like Ichigo who can't control the soul power." "Then what will happen to Ichigo like this?" Luo Chen hurriedly asked. Rukia said solemnly, "He will die when his soul power is exhausted." Ishida Yulong was very surprised. He proposed this game, and Daxu was called up because of his mistake. Now Ichigo has to bear the mistake. "No," Ishida Yulong excitedly touched Ichigo's body with his feet, and shot arrows into the air with both hands. "Since Ichigo can't control his soul power, I will help him control his soul power." Ishida Yulong's hand that was pulling the string kept bleeding, but he still didn't give up. Seeing Yulong Ishida's appearance, Ichigo stopped him excitedly. "Hey, stop it quickly, if this goes on, your hand will be destroyed." "Shut up." Ishida Yulong looked very firm, he would never owe death god's favor. Luokan hurriedly asked the system if there was any solution, and the system replied, "As long as Ichigo's soul power is absorbed, and then help him control the remaining soul power." Luokan quickly pushed Ishida Yulong aside, and then placed both hands on Ichigo's body to absorb his soul power. "Soul power absorption is activated," Luo Chen said silently in his heart, and the soul power that Ichigo burst out passed through Luo Chen's body through both hands. Slowly, Ichigo felt better and was finally able to stand up. Ichigo, are you all right? Rukia looked at Ichigo worriedly. Ichigo moved his body and said energetically, no problem at all. The next few people were relieved. Ichigo shyly said to Luokan, thank you, brother Luokan. Luokan smiled lightly, and suddenly felt dark in front of him, and then he didn't know anything. When he woke up again, he was lying on his bed. Ichigo. Luo-chen looked at the worry of Ichigo in front of him and was very puzzled. Ichigo finally felt relieved when he saw Luokan woke up, and asked Yuzi and Shali to bring over the meal. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 818. Luokan looked at Yuzi and Shali suspiciously, and asked Ichigo what happened to him. Yihu turned his head to the side, but kept glancing at Luokan, and said awkwardly, you fainted trying to save me. Passed out. Luokan was very puzzled, recalling what happened before and having a memory. However, absorbing Ichigo's soul power is permitted by the system, so why does this happen again? System, what the hell is going on? Luo-chen asked the system. The system replied helplessly, this is a normal reaction. You don't have to worry about it, host. In that case, there is only one way. Luokan was very angry when he heard the system's answer. What do you mean by not doing too much? He was in a coma. If he had known that there would be such a situation, he would not necessarily absorb it. What broke the system? Luokan muttered in a low voice. All he said were complaints. The system actually sighed, seeing Luokan like this, and hurriedly comforted him. Don't be too angry, host, the absorption of Yihu's soul power is very helpful to your body. Your body is stronger now, and your ability has been improved. If you don't believe me, give it a try. Luokan didn't have time to pay attention to this aspect, and quickly got up from the bed to check the situation. And Yuzi and Shali saw Luokan and wanted to get up, naturally they stopped. Brother Luokan, you are not well, lie down a little longer. Luokan doesn't have time to lie down now, he wants to try the ability he has acquired. Luo-chen came to a place with no one in a hurry, and suddenly jumped when he saw the reflection in the water. How can my body become so strong? I was a little uncomfortable with the sudden strength, and thought it was someone else. The system explained, this is your original appearance. In order to prevent others from being suspicious, I made a certain disguise on you. Luokan doesn't know whether to laugh or cry now. It's really strange to see himself like this. This body shape is really similar to Chadu. Forget it, what is the new power you're talking about? I'm going to test it. Luo-chen doesn't care about appearance. Anyway, the system will help him cover it up. The system's voice sounded in Luokan's mind. Do you want to activate the power of the seal? Luokan's answer without hesitation was that a huge power suddenly scurried in Luokan's body, and Luokan felt a little pain. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Start the emergency control. Start the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Start failed. XXX. Your uncle's, Luokan is going to hurt to death, but it failed to start. He really regrets listening to the lies of the system, and his feelings are all deceiving himself. Pain is adjusted to 0. The system operates silently. In an instant, Luokan felt that all the pain in his body disappeared. He raised his hand in disbelief, but found that the speed of raising his hand was different from what he had imagined. What's wrong with my body? Why is my body a little out of control? Luo-chen was so frightened that he didn't want to become disabled. The system replied embarrassedly, soul power is still being adjusted. I just turned off your feeling system. If necessary, I will turn it on for you. No, don't. Although Luo-chen wasn't afraid of pain, the feeling of being divided by 5 horses should no longer be felt. After waiting for a while, the system finally adjusted the soul power. 100 million. Chapter 819. Host, you can now use your new power. the system said lightly. Luokan immediately activated the newly acquired power, and started silently in his heart, and a faint blue layer appeared on his hand. This kind of light was very weak, but it could not be ignored. What is this? Luokan clenched his fist, feeling that his fist was full of power. The system presented the introduction of this new power in front of Luo Chen. 237 Power Name, Grip of Soul Power. How to get it? Obtained by absorbing, fusing, and transforming the soul power of others, enhancing this power, and permanently increasing physical strength by 10 points. Power Effect. It can enhance the attack power, resistance and reflection power of the fist. When the grip of the soul power is turned on, it can automatically defend. Luokan was a little excited. Just reading the introduction made him feel very powerful, and he was able to automatically defend himself, so he didn't have to worry about it. How about the host? Are you satisfied with this power? If there is any deficiency, please criticize it more. The system's voice revealed a kind of arrogance, as if waiting for Luo Chen to praise it. Luo Chen naturally did not hesitate to praise himself. After the last battle, he had found that he relied too much on the strength of the Nine Tails. Without the actual fighting ability of the Nine Tails, he would still be very weak. It is with my heart, I will forgive you this time, but will this power disappear? Luo Chen suddenly had a question when he saw the method of obtaining it. The system nodded and said helplessly, after all, this kind of power is imported into your body from the outside, so there are times when it disappears. But as long as you keep killing the virtual, you can keep replenishing the grip of the soul power. Oh, it seems that you can't use this power arbitrarily. Luokan was about to try the power of the soul power grip. He aimed at the big tree more than 10 meters away and punched it hard, and a soul power ball in the shape of a blue fist rushed over. Hearing the sound of boom, the big tree was completely wiped out in an instant, and not even a single bit of scum was left. It's so strong. Luo Chen stared at the scene in front of him with wide eyes, and he couldn't believe that it was his own damage. Ninetails suddenly appeared from Luokan and said to him, Master, I felt the loss of power in your body just now, what happened? Luokan shook his head, pointed to the front and told what happened just now. Congratulations, Master, congratulations, Master. Now that Master has such powerful power, no one can hurt Master. Ninetails came up with a compliment. Luokan was a little worried. This kind of attack power is really too powerful. If it were used in normal times, it would destroy the city. At this time, the system's voice appeared weakly. It reminded Luo Chen that it was time to replenish the grip of soul power. What? I just used it once and it's gone. Luokan asked excitedly. The system is also very helpless. It didn't expect Luokan to use up all the power of the soul power grip at one time, and it forgot to remind Luokan to be careful to control the amount of use. Luo Chen was speechless. He sighed helplessly. It seemed he had mastered this power. It will take some practice, but it's not bad. Kiue, we're going home. Luo Chen saw that it was getting late. He took the Nine Tails back into his body and walked back to Ichigo's house. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 820. Luokan returned to Ichigo's house and quickly finished his meal, then returned to his room to rest. Luo Chen, who was lying on the bed tossed and turned, couldn't fall asleep. He was thinking about how to regain his soul power. At this moment, a faint breath suddenly came from a distance. It's really lucky, we're going. Luo Chen jumped up on the bed with a carp, opened the window and ran outside. Ichigo and Rukia just happened to come out too, and they were also rushing away. Let's go, Luokan said energetically, and rushed out first. Ichigo asked with a black line, why is this guy so energetic all of a sudden? Did he eat too much dinner? When Luokan, Ichigo and Lu 22 Kia arrived, Ishida Yulong also arrived, but his fingers were injured and he was unable to draw bows and shoot arrows for the time being. You guys are finally here, it's too slow. Ishida Yulong was ready to force himself to attack. Luo Chen was uncharacteristically, he smiled at Ishida Yulong, and rushed out with his 9 tails in hand. 9 tails, bound by fireworks. As Luokan shouted, the Zanpakudo in Luokan's hand immediately transformed into 9 tails, and quickly charged towards Shu, perfectly restraining Shu to the spot. Pretty, it's time for me to play next. Luo Chen jumped into the air with both feet and punched Shu with an iron fist. The powerful one directly knocked Void down from the sky. After Luo Chen returned to the ground, he quickly picked up the Zanpakudo, and the sword fell in his hand to destroy Shu. It's done. Luo Chen snapped his fingers, with a satisfied smile on his face, excitedly checking how many soul power grips he had collected. You're right, there's only 1/10. Luo Chen suddenly became disappointed, lowered his head and sighed. The system explained, the phantom level that was beheaded just now is too low, so the corresponding soul power is not enough. Only by breaking more phantoms can the soul power be filled. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Only 1/10 of the power should be usable, right? Luo Chen expected the system's affirmation. Naturally, the system will not let Luokan down, so give him a firm, enhance. Then there's no problem. Luokan became happy again, and jumped up with excitement. Ichigo, Rukia and Ishida Yulong looked at Luokan suspiciously, wondering what happened to him, why he was happy at one moment, lost at the moment, and happy again. He couldn't have been damaged by soul power before, right? Ishida Yulong asked worriedly. When Ichigo heard this, he became nervous. If so, he would have to be in charge. He excitedly shouted to Luokan, "Hey, are you alright?" Of course Luokan is fine, not only is he fine, but he is very happy. At this time, suddenly there was an aura of Shu approaching here, approaching Ichigo and the others. It was easy to draw Shu to him. Come on. Ichigo had already picked up the Zanpakudo and was ready to fight. The figure of Shu appeared. This time it was a monster-like Shu, with 4 sturdy legs and a huge body. HMPH, I'll get rid of you right away. Ichigo said and rushed over to Shu. Suddenly Luo Chen rushed out from behind Ichigo and said to Ichigo, "Leave this to me, you can just protect Ishida Yulong." As soon as the voice fell, Luo Chen had already activated the grip of soul power to eliminate the void. The soul power consumed this time and the supplementary soul power actually increased a little, and now it is 1/5. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 821. The power is amazing. Rukia felt the grip of the soul power that Luo Chen had just released, and made a sound of amazement. Ichigo raised his eyebrows, not knowing why Luokan suddenly worked so hard. He wasn't like this before. Ishida Yulong was very unwilling to let Ichigo protect himself before Luokan heard the words, but he did not forget that Ichigo was the god of death, and as a Quincy master, he did not need the protection of the god of death. I don't know why, but Ichigo's breath kept coming, and this time, 3 of them ran out at once, and Ichigo and Rukia became nervous. However, Luo Chen glanced at the 3 virtuals and shook his head. He was a little disdainful of these 3 low-level virtuals, and directly let the 9 tails throw a slash to kill the 3 virtuals in seconds. What? Ichigo's mouth widened and eyes widened, shocked by Luokan's attack. Although the few of them knew that Luo Chen's ability was high, it was too exaggerated to kill 3 virtuals at will. Is he really your cousin Tilda? Ishida Yulong asked suspiciously. Ichigo raised his fist and asked excitedly, "What do you mean?" Although I don't want to admit it, this guy is my cousin. Ishida Yulong replied indifferently. It's nothing, it's just that your strength is too poor, and you have to be suspicious. Do you guys want to fight? Ichigo shouted at Yulong Ishida excitedly. Rukia's brows furrowed tightly together. A powerful character like Luo Chen should be famous, but why hasn't she heard of it? It's not enough. Luo Chen pouted in dissatisfaction. He wanted to kill more Shu. Suddenly Falling Dust thought of in a good way. He exudes a lot of soul power, ready to attract the nearby virtual forces. Luokan, What are you doing here? Ishida Yulong remembered the lesson from the last time, which could easily bring disaster to the town. Luokan waved his hand relaxedly, and said to Ishida Yulong, don't worry, I'm measured. As soon as the voice fell, several phantoms suddenly appeared around, and Luo Chen roughly counted about 14. Ichigo, prepare to fight. Rukia quickly reminded Ichigo to be on alert. However, before Ichigo entered the state, Luokan had already wiped out all the emptiness around him, leaving not a single hair left. Luokan refreshed Yihu's perception of him once again, and couldn't help but wonder if Luokan was a monster. The grip of the soul power that has eliminated these more than a dozen phantoms is also full, but at this time another phantom has emerged. Diaresis, what should I do? Where is the extra soul power going to be absorbed? Luokan didn't want to do useless work, so he quickly searched the system to find a way. The system opens a redemption interface for Luokan, and there are all kinds of good things in it, which can be exchanged by killing a certain number of virtuals. That's it, the soul power storage bottle, middle. Luo Chenmo did not hesitate to exchange it. Originally, he wanted to exchange the big one, but the number of beheading Shu is far from enough, so it's good to do it first. After the exchange, Luo Chen got excited again, ran towards Shu, raised his sword and dropped it. Shu was killed. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 822. There was another fight, and the falling dust was filled with half a bottle of soul power. And Rukia yawned while standing by and doing nothing. Why don't you guys look like you haven't woken up? Luo Chen looked at them suspiciously, completely forgetting that it was night. Ichigo pointed to the sky impatiently, and said excitedly, it's night now, are we here to watch your performance? Luokan smiled and said, it's all right, you can live a peaceful life in the next few days, leave it to me to handle Shu. Luo Chen wanted to collect all the storage bottles, so that he could explode with more powerful power. You want to eliminate all the emptiness. Isn't this kind of workload a bit too much, and your body will be exhausted? Rukia said worriedly. This kind of thing is not a problem for Luokan. Destroying dozens of virtuals is like playing, how could it be exhausted? Luokan smiled confidently, waved his hand and walked towards Ichigo's house. After a night, Luo Chen got up early to check for the emptiness, but there was none. Brother Luokan, your face is not very good, did you not sleep last night? The wanderer asked with concern when he saw Luokan's lost appearance. Luokan waved his hand, he was just disappointed because there was nothing around him. At this time, Ichigo came to the restaurant with dark circles under his eyes, and greeted the wanderer with a sigh of relief. Brother Ichigo, you haven't slept either, the dark circles under your eyes are so heavy. The wanderer looked at the two of them and thought he had missed something. Luokan was also very surprised, how could Ichigo's dark circles be so heavy? XXX. As soon as Ichigo saw Luokan, he couldn't help but say, it's not because of you, otherwise why would I go to bed so late? Because of me. Luokan blinked, and when they came back, it was only around 1 o'clock, which was about the same as usual. Ichigo blurted out in a frenzy, it's not because of you, I was caught in the middle of the night. Luokan quickly covered Ichigo's mouth, and reminded Ichigo in a low voice not to say the wrong thing. Ichigo also reacted, but such resentment is difficult to eliminate, so Ichigo stepped on the dust. Ah, you actually stepped on me. Luokan cried out in pain. Ichigo smiled smugly, looking at Luokan with provocative eyes, as if to say, what can you do with me? Luokan sighed helplessly, maybe Ichigo stayed with Rukia for too long, otherwise, how could he, a boy, deliberately step on other people's feet? Yo, it's so lively early in the morning, it's good to be young. Yixin also woke up, and when he came to the restaurant, he was very happy to see the energetic appearance of several children. Luokan quickly said hello to Yixin, and Yixin also looked happy. At this time, Yixin glanced at Yihu and said faintly, why can't my child be as obedient as Luo-chen? It really makes me sad as a father. Ichigo naturally heard that Yixin meant something, and greeted Yixin with disdain. Ah, I finally waited. Ichigo has grown up after so many years. I finally waited until he said hello to me, and then I should give it to the education that I should know at this age. Grabbed Ichigo's hand excitedly. What education should I know at this age? The wanderer repeated lightly. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 823. Shali flew out a slipper from the kitchen and slapped it straight on Shin's face. You idiot, don't lead a bad wanderer. Shali continued. Froma head roared angrily from the kitchen. Luo-chen couldn't help laughing when he saw the harmony of people all of a sudden, seeing that it was almost time to go to school. Let's go first, Luo-chen said, grabbed Ichigo and ran outside. The wanderer's voice came from behind. Don't you bring some bread? Ichigo was dragged away by Luo-chen before he could answer. Why are you in such a hurry? Luoken ran for a long distance before stopping, and as soon as he stopped, Ichigo excitedly asked Luoken a question. Luoken doesn't care about Ichigo's attitude. Anyway, Ichigo has such a bad temper and can't be changed. I found it to be empty. Luo-chen excitedly looked in the direction of the school. Ichigo frowned. Didn't he agree to give himself a few quiet days? What does it have to do with him when he appears empty? So what? Ichigo asked. Luoken smiled. He subconsciously wanted to take Ichigo with him, forgetting that he didn't need any help. Mistake, you can go to school now. When Ichigo heard this, he immediately broke out, raised his fist and shouted at Luo-chen, did you make a mistake? You made me miss breakfast just because of a falsehood. Just when Luoken didn't know what to say, Rukia appeared. Looking at the two people arguing, Rukia flipped her hair, and said helplessly, Ichigo, your temper should be changed. By the way, today's omelette rice is very delicious, thank you for me. Omuris. Ichigo likes this dish the most, and instantly burst out with a surprising murderous aura. Ah, what's wrong with you? Rukia looked at Ichigo with experience, and had a bad premonition in her heart. Luoken said quickly, I'll deal with the emptiness first, you two talk slowly. As soon as the voice fell, Luoken disappeared. He knew how terrifying the resentment of food was, so he would not be cannon fodder here. Omuris. Luoken ran a long way and could hear Ichigo's roar. After a lot of running, Luo-chen finally came to the school. Before there are not many people, he can quickly deal with the emptiness, and then he can go to class with confidence. Before he knew it, Luoken had become accustomed to spending his days with his classmates and his family. This kind of quiet and peaceful life was something he had not experienced for a long time. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. When Ichigo arrived at the school, Shu had already transformed into Luoken's soul power. Ichigo, you're here. Luoken knew from the look of Ichigo that he was still angry, so he had to say hello to Ichigo embarrassedly. Yihu glanced at Luoken and snorted coldly, the hatred of food is impossible to disappear like this. 0. At this time, Orihime suddenly took out a bento box and asked Ichigo, would you like some of my breakfast? Luoken leaned up curiously and asked, why is breakfast in a bento box? Orihime scratched her head embarrassedly and replied, it took me too long to make omelette today, so I had to bring it to school to eat. Omuris. Ichigo's eyes lit up when he heard the name of the omuris, and he picked up Orihime's bento and ate it without hesitation. After the stormy smoking, Ichigo finally smiled contentedly. 100 million. Chapter 824. Today is the last day of class. Ichigo and the others' summer vacation is approaching, and the atmosphere in the class has become extraordinarily joyful. Ichigo, we're going to the beach in the summer vacation, do you want to come with me? Asakusa poked Ichigo, looking very wretched. Ichigo is disdainful to participate in such activities. He has the work of the god of death, so he has no time at all. Asakusa was not surprised to hear Ichigo's answer. After all, he has known his character for 240 years, so he turned to Luokan. How about it, Luokan, you will come to participate, but we have a lot of girls who all wear swimsuits. Asakusa's saliva was about to flow out as he spoke. Luokan smiled bitterly and waved his hand to refuse, but he wanted to take advantage of the summer vacation to store up his soul power. What, Luokan, you're not participating. Forget it, you will always participate in the watercolor. Asakusa asked Asakusa listlessly. Suze was also embarrassed to reject Asakusa, saying that their family was going to travel abroad, so there was no time left. Even you. Asakusa felt that the sky was about to fall. At this time, Ryusawa and Orihime also came over and said, Asakusa, Orihime and I are no longer participating. We have already made other arrangements. What? Asakusa's face darkened instantly. The girls he was talking about were Ryuzawa Gue and Orihime. Now that girls are not going, what's the point of calling boys, even though no boys are going? In this way, Asakusa's plan fell through. He was bored and could only choose to work a few more jobs. At the end of school, Luokan saw Asakusa's spirited appearance and leaned over. I'm sorry Asakusa, I really want to go, but there are some things that need to be dealt with, sorry. Luokan said sincerely. Asakusa is not that stingy either. He waved his hand and said to Luokan, It's okay. I originally wanted to work part-time, but the shop was a little scary, so I didn't want to go there. Luokan thought it was just the House of Horrors, so he didn't pay much attention, so he comforted Asakusa. You don't know, in that store, things will be lost inexplicably, and a hole will appear out of thin air. Asakusa felt scared when he thought of these things, and he wouldn't have gone to work there if he was short of money. Luo Chen was taken aback for a moment. According to Asakusa's words, these phenomena are all false behaviors. Where is your part-time job? Take me to see it quickly. Luo Chen said excitedly. He was worried that the number was not enough, and it happened by coincidence. Asakusa saw that Luo Chen was so excited, the corners of his mouth twitched. He didn't want to go anywhere if he had nothing to do. It would be bad if there was any danger. Asakusa, don't worry, I will definitely protect you, but I have a secret weapon. Luo Chen was mysterious, and in order to reassure Asakusa, he released 9 tails. Now the 9 tails are very small, just a pet dog, but there are 9 tails. What kind of dog is this, and why does it have 9 tails? Asakusa originally liked 9 tails very much, but when he saw 9 tails, he was so frightened that he mentioned it again and again. Luokan laughed and explained, It's the secret weapon I said. It's a divine dog that can protect people's safety. We'll be fine if we take it with us. Are you sure? Asakusa looked at Kyuubi suspiciously. Although Kyuubi has more tails, it still looks very cute. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 825. Kyuubi called out at this time, as if answering Asakusa's words. Not to mention, the call of the 9 tails really broke all the worries in Asakusa's heart. Anyway, I will go there to work sooner or later. It is better to take the 9 tails to check the situation. If you are not prepared, you can destroy the strange creatures there. In this way, Luokan was led by Asakusa to a part-time job. The place where Asakusa worked part-time was just a grocery store, but the location was a bit remote. There were only 22 people passing by, and the surrounding environment was relatively dim. Why does a grocery store open in such a place? Does anyone really come here to buy things? Luokan asked suspiciously. Asakusa hugged Kyuubi tightly, and answered tremblingly, No, there is none now. The grocery store here is just for the convenience of the demolition households over there in the future. Even so, this store opened too early. Luokan and Asakusa chatted word by word, and soon came to the door of the grocery store. Luokan looked up and saw that the sign above was very old, and it didn't look like a newly built grocery store at all. Are you sure it's here? This brand is too old. Luokan really felt a strange power when he came here, and it didn't look like a phantom, which aroused Luokan's curiosity. Asakusa explained, yeah, the signboard of this store was moved from another place, and it's only for temporary use. When the building over there is built, it will be redecorated here. So it's almost the same as the warehouse now? Luokan asked suspiciously. If there is no one here except the shopkeeper, then there is only one possibility left. What's the possibility? Asakusa swallowed nervously while listening to Luokan's analysis, and forced her hands unconsciously. Wow! Kyubi was hurt by Asakusa, and immediately rushed out of Asakusa's arms. Asakusa was taken aback by Kyubi, so she quickly hid to the side and said tremblingly, "Don't kill me, don't kill me, I don't know anything, I didn't see it, you go away." Seeing Asakusa's appearance, Luokan couldn't help laughing. He stepped forward and helped Asakusa up. "If you look like this, you should give up your job," Luo-chen persuaded. According to Asakusa's appearance, if you visit the store alone at night, you will definitely be scared to death. Asakusa immediately stood up and said excitedly to Luokan, "How can you give up? The salary here is very high, I need this money, and it took me a long time to find such an easy job." Luokan said faintly, "This kind of work is specially provided for those who are about to die." "Ah!" Asakusa screamed while holding her face. Luo-chen finally couldn't hold it anymore, covered his stomach and laughed loudly, saying, "I'm really laughing to death, I'm just joking, you look so funny." Asakusa didn't think it was funny, he was almost scared to death just now. Sorry, this matter is on my shoulders, let's see you tonight," Luo-chen said and was about to leave. Asakusa hurriedly dared to stand behind Luokan. He really didn't dare to walk out of this street alone, and felt a little regretful about taking the job. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 826. After Luokan returned home, he released Jue at the request of Yuzi and Shali. Yuzi and Shali immediately rushed up and hugged Jue. Suddenly, the wanderer took a wisp of black hair from Jue's body and said blamely, "Where have you been, brother Luokan? You made Jue's body stick to miscellaneous hairs." Luokan walked over suspiciously and took the black hair from the wanderer's hand. He felt a force surging in the hair. This is... Luo-chen was very surprised, and immediately realized that the grocery store was not very peaceful. Shali looked at Luo-chen suspiciously and asked, "Did something happen?" Luokan smiled lightly. He didn't want Shali to worry, so he covered up his worries. XXX. At this time, Ichigo walked downstairs and said to Luokan, "How about it? Did you find anything in the grocery store in Asakusa?" Luokan smiled and shook his head, and said lightly, "It's just that Asakusa is less timid, there's nothing wrong with that." That guy. Ichigo was convinced of Luokan's words and sat down to eat. Luokan finished eating quickly, then went back to his room and escaped through the window. Luokan arrived at the agreed time. From a distance, he saw Asakusa standing at the entrance of the street, looking at him from time to time. "Yo, Asakusa, you came early tilde," Luokan said lightly. Asakusa finally breathed a sigh of relief when she saw Luokan, and hurriedly asked, "Where's the 9 tails, where is the divine beast?" Luokan shrugged helplessly, feeling that Asakusa trusted Kyubi more. He had no choice but to summon Kyubi. Here. Asakusa hugged Kyubi directly. Only in this way can he feel at ease. Luokan looked at the pained expression of the 9 tails and said, "If you encounter an attack like this, it will be too late to defend." Oh. Asakusa hurriedly put 9 tails on the ground and followed closely behind him. Luokan was completely helpless and said, don't you believe me? Asakusa smiled, scratched his head and said, of course I believe in your divine beast. I'm not afraid to get close to you because I'm afraid of dragging you down. Luokan sighed and said, tonight I'll show you a show of Luokan catching ghosts. Ghost. Asakusa immediately shivered when he heard the ghost. Just at this moment, a cold wind blew, and there were bursts of cat meowing not far away. The atmosphere was so strange. Asakusa turned around and ran. He hadn't reached the point of dying for money. Luokan grabbed Asakusa and explained, diaresis, I was just a metaphor, you don't have to worry, just follow up with the 9 tails. The so-called ghosts are things that humans cannot see. Humans are always afraid of unknown creatures, so they become ghosts. And the ghosts that Luokan said were ghosts pretending to be ghosts. Don't tilde, Asakusa has now given up this job, and is excited to get rid of the clutches of falling dust. Asakusa screamed in the alley, and just like that, the two walked towards the grocery store. Did it? Luokan and Asakusa came to the door of the grocery store, pushed open the door and walked in. There was nothing unusual inside, and it was really much warmer than the outside. Pop! Asakusa closed the door tightly, he didn't want to see the scene outside. Are you sure you want to block the door? You can't escape quickly when you run away. Luo Chen kindly reminded Asakusa when he saw Asakusa stacking piles of heavy objects at the door. Ellipsis dot. Chapter 827. Asakusa was stunned for a moment, looked at Luokan in horror, and begged him not to say such fearful words, it would really frighten people to death. Haha, don't worry, you should eat and drink, just sit and watch Luokan catch the ghost. Luokan said lightly, he didn't feel any abnormality yet, but it was almost time to see. Asakusa immediately became excited when he heard the ghost, standing there not knowing what to do. Okay, I won't mention it anymore. Luokan sighed when he saw Asakusa's frightened look, and really didn't know why he took this job in the first place. Minutes and seconds passed, and nothing happened. Look, there's nothing wrong. As long as this divine beast is around, no monsters or ghosts dare to come here. Luo Chen saw that Asakusa had been tense all the time and was really tired for him. Asakusa said nervously, it's not 12 o'clock yet. Every time there is an abnormality in the grocery store, it is at 12 o'clock. Just as he was talking, the clock rang at 12 o'clock. Dang tilde. The sound of the clock came from the outside into the grocery store, and Asakusa's whole body was about to die of nervousness. Now, just a little movement can make Asakusa have a huge reaction. Luokan originally thought that he would be able to spend the night safely, but he didn't expect a strange power to strike as soon as the bell fell. This power is similar to the power in the black hair brought back by the 9 tails. Come on, 9 tails. Luo Chen immediately put on a fighting look. He felt that this power was not something ordinary people could radiate, and it wasn't a virtual power, but he always felt that he had encountered it somewhere. Asakusa was so nervous when she saw 9 tails frizz, she accidentally hit the wall and fainted. Plop tilde, Asakusa fell to the ground. Luokan glanced at Asakusa and shrugged helplessly. Maybe his fainting would make things easier. Meow tilde, a cat meow came from outside the door. It sounded very cute, but Luo Chen could feel the great power. Don't pretend to be a ghost, let's see how God Luokan arrests you. Luokan said and opened the door. A black kitten sat at the door, with big eyes revealing a pitiful look. So cute. Luokan was really attracted by the cute appearance of the kitten. Juwei went up and took a bite at Luokan. The pain made Luokan calm down. She pulled away from the kitten, and said vigilantly, it's dangerous, I was almost confused. Hu tilde, Juwei shouted, as if waiting for Luo Chen to praise him. Luo Chen quickly praised the 9 tails together. He stretched out his hand and said, go 9 tails, defeat this cute guy and use your invincible cute trick. Roar tilde, Juwei glanced at Luokan and roared to express his dissatisfaction. Luokan smiled. He was really reluctant to see the little black cat like this. At this time, the little black cat opened his mouth to speak, and the first sentence was to say hello to Luokan. You know me. Luo Chen was stunned. He was not from this world. How could anyone know him? The little black cat didn't answer, just walked to Luokan step by step. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 828. Kyubi didn't know that his master knew this strange guy, and immediately rushed to Luokan to block the black cat's progress. Luokan, have you forgotten me? The black cat raised his head and showed a pitiful look. Luo Chen tilted his head and looked at the black cat suspiciously, and quickly asked the system what was going on. The answer given by the system is because something went wrong when converting the world, so only the soul came to this world, and the body belongs to someone else. It turned out to be like this. In this case, the body I use is most likely someone the little black cat knows. Luo Chen finally understood. Luokan felt that the little black cat was not hostile to him, so he let the 9 tails back down, and then said to the little black cat, I am sorry, you have mistaken the person, although the person you know and I think very much, but I am not him. Impossible, I gave you the jade pendant on your body. The little black cat thought that Luo Chen was lying to him, with an angry expression on his face. Luokan looked down, and he really didn't know when there was an extra jade pendant around his waist. He hadn't noticed it before. What's this? Luokan held the jade pendant and could feel the power flowing in it and the little black cat radiating it. The little black cat said excitedly, You really don't remember anything. I'm Yi Yi, that's our exclusive token, a jade pendant that only appears when both of you are present. You can do all of these things. Forget. This is embarrassing. Luokan has no impression of these things, and he does not dare to tell the little black cat that the person he knows has been replaced by himself. Luokan believes that if he tells it, the little black cat will definitely kill him. Calm down first, you must calm down. Luo Chen was stunned now. He was clearly here to hunt ghosts, but he was forced to this point by ghosts. Seeing Luokan's embarrassed look, Jue immediately rushed forward to make a clearance, and it was a fireball fired at the little black cat, and its power was not small. The little black cat is also very agile, and with an easy jump, he dodged the fireball, and a big hole appeared in the wall of the grocery store. 9 tails, don't destroy this place. Luo Chen looked at the hole in the wall very helplessly, feeling that he was here to destroy it. The little black cat suddenly became human, and reached out to touch Luokan's face, but it returned to the cat's appearance before it was wiped on. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. What's wrong with you? Luokan just felt that the familiar power turned out to be the power of the god of death, but because Yi Yi turned into a cat, this power was distorted, so Luokan felt strange. Yi Yi explained, It's nothing. It's just that he was injured a little, and he couldn't keep his human form for too long in the human world. You're injured. Luo Chen quickly squatted down to check Yi Yi's injury. He thought it was 9 tails who injured her. 0. Jue suddenly became jealous when Luo Chen's attitude towards the little black cat changed so quickly. What happened to you, Jue? Luokan asked suspiciously. Kyubi didn't answer, only raised his head proudly and looked elsewhere. After analysis, the system gave Luokan a result. 9 tails ate it wrong. It thinks that the host prefers little black cats. Luokan laughed awkwardly twice. How could this be compared? 9-tailed darling, the little black cat is injured. I have to help her check the injury. Don't make trouble anymore. Luo Chen said softly. He had never seen Jue like this before. 100 million. Chapter 829. The little black cat said excitedly, Luokan, I'm Yi Yi, please call me Yi Yi. Luokan had no choice but to cry out Yi Yi, and the little black cat fell down in satisfaction and lost consciousness. System analysis, physical examination. The system immediately scanned Yi-Yi's body, and the final result was that he fainted from hunger. Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, and when he saw the food on the side, he immediately took it out for Yi-Yi to eat, and Yi-Yi woke up shortly after 12:40. "Thank you, Luoken, you finally remembered me," Yi-Yi said excitedly. Luoken twitched the corner of his mouth. He just saw someone fainted from hunger and went to help, which also made people misunderstand that there was really no one else. At this moment, Asakusa woke up, looked at the hole in the wall, and then saw that there was less food around, and immediately called out loudly. "Ghost, the ghost has appeared again. The beast, hurry up and help me drive it away." Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, only to realize that the environment of the grocery store was exactly the same as what Asakusa said before, except that the hole was in the wall this time. "Who do you say is a ghost, Ibit?" Yi-Yi shouted excitedly, and before he could finish speaking, he fell to the ground weakly. When Asakusa saw that the black cat could talk, he fainted again, and fell to the ground with a plop. "Ah, so the legendary monster here is you," Luoken said suspiciously. Yi-Yi blushed and said, "I'm just hungry, so I came here to get some food out of desperation, and I used the invisibility technique." Invisibility. Luo Chen didn't expect Yi-Yi to have such a powerful technique. Yi-Yi said embarrassedly, "It's just to make yourself a god of death. Ordinary people can't see a god of death." "That's it." Luo Chen's voice revealed disappointment. He thought that even the god of death would not find out. If it was just a god of death, he could do it. Yi-Yi looked at Luo Chen's disappointed face and sighed sadly, and said to himself, "It seems that you are really not the Luo Chen I know. The Luo Chen I know knows everything, and about this too he told me." Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, always feeling like he was being scolded. "Forget it, are you going to continue to steal food here in the future? That's not good." Luoken shrugged helplessly. He didn't want to be dragged to this place by Asakusa next time. Yi-Yi lowered his head and said, "Actually, I'm looking for some highly capable people to help them improve. It's easy to handle, I just know a few. What are your plans?" Luo Chen continued to ask. This time he finally helped Chadu, Ichigo and Orihime find a master. Yi-Yi shook her head. She hadn't thought about it for the time being. She had to analyze it according to the specific situation. "Well, I'll send you to Kazuki Urahara. As long as you give him a little more money, he will definitely take you in," Luo Chen said lightly. When Yi-Yi heard Kazuki Urahara's name, he immediately stood up and asked with wide eyes, "Do you know Kazuki Urahara's position in the world?" Luoken nodded. If it wasn't for Rukia, he probably would never have found out about Kazuki Urahara's place in his life. After all, the location of the shop was very remote. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 830. XXX. Luoken brought Yaiki to Kazuki Urahara's store. "Lord Luoken wants to buy something today, but our small shop came in and developed a lot of new products." Urahara Kazuki gave Luoken a flattering smile. He had already regarded Luoken as a big deal. Luoken squinted at Kazuki Urahara, and before he could speak, Yi-Yi rushed out first. "How did you become like this, Urahara Kazuki?" Yi-Yi looked puzzled. In her memory, Urahara Kazuki was a very proud and indifferent person. Kazuki Urahara glanced at Yaiki 22, and asked indifferently, "Who are you? Do you want to buy something?" This change of face was faster than turning over a book, which made Yi-Yi stunned for a moment, but he also thought that this was the Urahara Kazuki he knew. Luo Chen was used to seeing Urahara Kazuki changing his face. As long as he had money, he could get a smiley face in front of him, while those without money would be indifferent. "Even you don't remember me. I'm Yoichi." Yoichi was a little sad. Seeing Kazuki Urahara forgetting himself, there was a complicated feeling in his heart. Urahara Kazuki immediately remembered the name of Yoichi, and said excitedly, "It turned out to be Yoichi. No wonder I feel a familiar power from you. What do you want to buy from me today?" Luoken was really defeated by Urahara Kazuki. His mind is full of selling things, can't he think about other things? Yaiki was not surprised by Kazuki Urahara's appearance, so he jumped onto Kazuki Urahara's shoulder and whispered a few words in his ear. I saw that Urahara Kazuki's face became more and more unsightly, and finally his face turned blue. What are you talking about? Luo Chen asked suspiciously. What else needs to be hidden from him? Yi waved his cat's paw and said to Luo Chen, I just told him about your amnesia. Yeah, I didn't expect you to be that, Luo Chen. I'm really old, and my eyes are not good. Urahara Kazuki returned to his original appearance, and he was no longer a flattering face to Luo Chen. Luoken was even more confused, not knowing what the two of them were conspiring, and he was not the Luoken they knew at all. Yi explained their relationship with Urahara Kazuki to Luo Chen. Urahara Kazuki was friends with Luoken when he was in the Soul World, or did Luoken introduce Urahara Kazuki to Yoichi? I introduced it. Luo Chen didn't believe that he would have a connection with a guy like Urahara Kazuki who saw money. Yaiki nodded vigorously, and Urahara Kazuki also agreed. Luo Chen was helpless and had to accept this fact. Is there any problem with staying with you that night? Luo Chen didn't forget the purpose of coming here. Since they are all old friends, everything is easy to say. Unexpectedly, Urahara Kazuki jumped up immediately, pointed at Yaiki and Luoken and said, Are you two living together? Of course not. Luoken is also staying in someone else's house now. How could he bring another person back? UNO opinion, right? Luoken raised his eyebrows and questioned Kazuki Urahara with the domineering he should have. Urahara Kazuki was also frightened by Luoken's sudden aura, and he immediately said flatteringly, No opinion, just look at my small shop, there are so many people waiting to eat. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 831. People. Who? Luo Chen didn't see anyone else in the store. As soon as Luoken's voice fell, 3 figures appeared from behind Urahara Kazuki and greeted Luoken one after another. Let me introduce to you. The older one is Shinichiro Miki, the smaller one is called Jinta, and the little girl here is called Wuyu, just call her Xiaoyu. Urahara Kazuki gave Luoken a grand introduction, showing a greedy face on his face. Luo Chen was speechless. He hadn't seen these people the last time he came here. He seriously suspected that these people were the trustees of Kazuki Urahara. Ahem, are these people really your shop assistants? Luoken asked suspiciously. Yi unceremoniously dismantled Luoken's stage and said to Shinichiro Miki, So you and Urahara Kazuki came to the world together. It's great to see that you're all right. Luoken's face turned black instantly, and he looked at Yi with resentment. Yi suddenly felt a gust of cold wind blowing, and turned his head to see Luo Chen looking at him resentfully. He was instantly frightened and didn't know what he had said wrong. Luoken sighed helplessly, seeing that Kazuki Urahara still wanted money. No matter what, he was not short of money anyway. System, help me convert 100,000 tilde. With a bang, there was an extra 100,000 in Luoken's backpack. These are 100,000 yuan, and Yi's boarding fee here. Luo Chen said, very upset, thinking that he would save a fortune this time. Urahara Kazuki's eyes lit up immediately when he saw Qian, but his face was still full of dissatisfaction. He clapped his hands together, and said to Luoken, Look at the money I bought last time for 10 Yishan pills, and now I'm a big living person. Live with us, don't you? If Urahara Kazuki didn't mention it, Luoken would have forgotten about it. He was brutally slaughtered last time, and this time he definitely wants to get it back. Luoken took back all the 100,000 yuan, and then said domineeringly, Ah, by the way, you haven't given me the last time, and I don't want it either. I'll give it to you at night. Urahara Kazuki was instantly dumbfounded. Seeing the 100,000 he had in hand disappeared instantly, he felt a pain in his heart. No, last time you didn't say. Urahara Kazuki hurriedly explained. It was Luoken who said that he didn't need to give it to him, but now it's a bit of a slap in the face. Luokan didn't have the chance to explain Kazuki Urahara, so he stood up and walked out. With a bang, Luokan closed the door with force. He still couldn't believe that he couldn't take care of a small businessman. Diaresis host, he is not a small businessman, he used to be the first-generation director of the Technology Development Bureau. The system kindly reminded Luokan. Luo Chen didn't dare to know what identity Urahara Kazuki was. Anyway, Yoichi and him were friends, and he still didn't believe that Urahara Kazuki could drive out Yoichi. If that was the case, Luo Chen would definitely come back and beat Kazuki Urahara. Just like that, Yaiki checked into Kazuki Urahara's store, and Luokan returned to Ichigo's home in a dashing manner. Did you? To rest. Before going to bed, Luokan always felt that he had forgotten something, but he couldn't remember it again. Forget it, it's definitely not an important thing, forget it. Luo Chen lay on the bed and fell asleep. At the same time, Asakusa woke up and saw that the surrounding situation was about to die of fright. He called Luo Chen but did not respond, and the divine beast was no longer around, which really frightened him. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 832. Today is the first day of summer vacation. Luo Chen was going to sleep in, but was woken up by the transformed soul. What happened? Why are you so excited? Luo Chen was so angry that he got up. The transformation soul said excitedly, Sister Rukia is gone, I can't find her. What kind of thing is this? Don't come to me again if you don't have important things. Luo Chen picked up the modified soul's leg and threw it hard, and then let Juwei close the door. Just like that, Luokan slept contentedly all morning. After waking up, Luokan came to the restaurant just in time for lunch. Brother Luokan is early, it's rare to see Brother Luokan who is lazy. The wanderer smiled and brought Luokan lunch. Luokan smiled lightly. These days, I went to bed late and got up early every day, and my body couldn't take it anymore. Today, I made up for it all. Alright, are you alone? Today is summer vacation, Ichigo and Natsuki should be fine, are they still sleeping in? The wandering child replied, Shali and her friends went out to play, and Brother Ichigo also made an agreement to go out. I will leave after making lunch for Brother Luokan. That's really hard work for you, hurry up and do it, I'll take care of the rest. Luo Chen said gently. The wanderer was not polite to Luokan either, he took off his gloves, put on his schoolbag and left. Luokan ate lunch quickly. It's been a long time since he's been so leisurely. It's really been a lazy afternoon. By the way, Rukia probably hasn't eaten yet, so I forgot about her. Luo Chen said with a slap on the forehead. So Luo Chen came to Ichigo's room with his lunch, but there was no one in the room. Transforming the soul, Rukia, Luo Chen called out. There was no response to Luokan, so Luokan opened the closet, but no one was found, but the closet was very clean, and it didn't look like someone had lived there. It's weird, did everyone go out to play in the summer vacation? Luo Chen shook his head and went straight back to the kitchen, not finding the letter that Rukia left on Ichigo's table. Looking at the empty house, Luokan decided to go out to play too. When Luokan came outside, the first thing that came to his mind was to transform his soul. Anyway, he didn't have anything to do, so he definitely had time to accompany him. With his super sensing ability, Luokan found the transformation soul. So you're here. Luo Chen grabbed the transformation soul and looked up at Orihime. Orihime blinked, but she didn't expect Luokan to like to play with dolls. Hurry up and let me go, I've run away from home, I want to leave that impersonal home. The transformation soul shouted loudly. Although Orihime has seen the emptiness before, she doesn't know anything about the transformation of the soul, and she thought Luokan was performing ventriloquism. It's really interesting. How did you get to a level like yours? Orihime asked curiously. Luokan asked in confusion, what level, what are you talking about, Orihime? At this time, Long Zegui came out of the store and immediately became excited when he saw Luokan. He immediately stopped in the middle of Origi and Luokan, and said hello to Luokan. Luokan, are you here to find me? It's great. Long Zegui said, wishful thinking. Luokan just smiled and didn't say anything. Anyway, what he said didn't work. Long Zegui had completely fallen into his own fantasy. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 833. Suddenly, Long Zegui stared at the transformed soul in Luokan's hands, grabbed it and rubbed it hard on his face. The modified soul couldn't stand such rough treatment, and immediately let Luokan save him. That student Longs, this doll belongs to a wanderer. I'm going to return it now. After Luo Chen finished speaking, he took back the transformed soul, and then ran away. Long Zegui showed loving eyes at the back of Luokan leaving, and said softly, it's so cute, Luokan's shy appearance is really attractive tilde. After running for a while, Luokan made sure that Long Zegui didn't follow, so he was relieved. Take a breath. Let go of me. The transformation shouted to Luo Chen awkwardly, get up. Luokan was very puzzled, and didn't know what happened to transforming the soul. All of you don't value me so much, so I'm going to leave this house and find someone who values me. The reformed soul jumped out of Luokan's hand as he spoke. Luokan thought of what happened in the morning, thinking that the transformation of the soul was mad at him, and hurriedly stepped forward to apologize. I'm sorry. It's really my fault this morning, will you forgive me this time? Luo Chen said very sincerely. The determination to transform the soul is also very firm, and he does not accept Luokan's apology, and he did not run away from home because of Luokan. When Luokan saw that the softness was not good, then he was going to be hardened, so he put on a ferocious expression. If you are not obedient, I will send you to Kazuki Urahara for destruction. The transformed soul really had a reaction when he heard Luo Chen's words, looked at Luo Chen in horror, and ran quickly when he wasn't paying attention. Where did the transformed soul possessed in the doll run past Luo Chen, and he was caught by Luo Chen within 10 meters of running out. Let go of me, let me go, I don't want to be destroyed. The transformation soul shouted loudly. Luokan was just teasing it. He never thought about destroying it, and he bought it at a cost of 100,000 yuan. By the way, there are fresh strawberries at home as snacks, would you like to eat with me? Luokan knew that the reformed soul was a foodie, so he made a suggestion. Hearing strawberries' eyes lit up instantly, transforming soul said excitedly to Luokan, I want it, take me back quickly. But didn't you say you want to leave that house, so the strawberry won't have your share? Luo Chen deliberately pretended to be difficult. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Transformed soul leaving shook his head and said firmly, no, I won't leave, I will never leave strawberry. Strawberry, Luo Chen said speechlessly. Transforming soul accidentally said what was in his heart. Seeing that Luo Chen had doubts, he quickly changed his words. I'm talking about you, and I will never leave you. XXX. Luokan said with disgust. Forget it, boys will be pointed out when they carry a doll all day, just follow Rukia honestly. Speaking of Rukia's transformation soul, he calmed down, but it hasn't seen Rukia since the morning. This was something that would never happen in normal times, and Rukia always took the remodeled soul with her wherever she went. You mean Rukia is lost? Luokan couldn't believe it. Rukia is a god of death, and someone who has lived for hundreds of years, how could he be lost? Luokan is adamant about this. 100 million. Chapter 834. The reformed soul looked at Luokan and couldn't believe that he had his hands on his chest, and shouted at Luokan with a fierce look. I saw in my dream this morning that Miss Rukia was packing her luggage. You can go back and look in the closet. This is not necessary. Luokan has seen it before, and he felt a little strange at the time, but he didn't expect Rukia to leave. So Rukia has really left. Luokan 243 still felt a little unbelievable. Everything was fine. Why did Rukia suddenly leave without saying goodbye? The system reminded Luokan, death is not allowed to stay in the world for too long, and it is absolutely not allowed to transfer power to others. So Rukia chose to leave without saying goodbye because she was afraid that Ichigo would get into trouble. It seems so at present. The system answered affirmatively. Now it's bad. Rukia can only use a little ghost, and her power is not too strong. Now that she encounters other gods of death, she is really dead. Transformed soul, you hurry up and tell Ichigo about this. I'll go look for Rukia first. Something big is going to happen. Luo Chen suddenly had a bad premonition. Luokan put down the modified soul and ran away, leaving the modified soul alone. Stunned, how could it know where to find Ichigo? It's too much for this idiot to leave this uncle behind again, my strawberry. Before he could eat the strawberry that transformed the soul, he was instructed by Luokan to work. Luokan first ran to Kazuki Urahara's store to look for Rukia. He thought this was the only place Rukia knew, so he would come here, but unfortunately it didn't. Luokan, what's wrong with you? Yi asked with concern. When Luokan said that Rukia was not likely to happen, Urahara, Kazuki and Yaiki were stunned for a moment, and they quickly helped find Rukia together. If Rukia is caught, what will be the punishment? Luo Chen asked Yi. Yi's brows furrowed tightly. The soul world is a place with strict discipline. If the god of death is found to have violated the rules or turned around, he will immediately kill him, and Rukia has been in the world for so long this time. It was stipulated that what awaited her was the death penalty. The death penalty. This is too exaggerated. Luo Chen didn't know what to say when he heard the death penalty. Isn't it just hiding in the world for a few days, and it's not a big mistake to kill illegally? As for the death penalty, Yi sighed. She also came to the human world because she was disappointed with the Soul Society. In order to save time, let's search separately, Luo Chen suggested. Yi also agreed that it was a waste of time for two people to search together, and the efficiency would be low, so the two separated. At the same time, the modified soul also found Ichigo by accident, and told Ichigo about Rukia's disappearance. This idiot will cause me trouble, Ichigo said angrily, and immediately ran out to find Rukia. The modified soul chased behind Ichigo and said, let's go home and have a look first. Maybe everyone Rukia will hide some clues in the letter left to you. Ichigo immediately braked when he heard this, blaming the transformation of the soul for not saying such an important thing sooner. Reshaping the soul is also very aggrieved. Ichigo didn't give it a chance to speak at all. How can I blame it? Ellipsis. Chapter 835. Ichigo ran home quickly with the transformed soul. At this time, Luokan had also searched the town and tried his best to find it through his soul power, but he found nothing, so he had to come back to find Ichigo first. How is it? Did Rukia have something written in her heart? Luo Chen asked urgently. Ichigo picked up Rukia's and read it again, but found that it was not smooth, and frowned. The system reminds Luokan that this letter has a code word and needs to be cracked to check it. Ichigo, give me the letter. Luokan quickly asked the system to help decipher it. Don't look at Rukia's life for so long, but she has no talent at all in creating puzzles, and the system solves it in 2 seconds. Just read it every 2 words. The system said in a very disdainful tone. It was disdainful of this kind of puzzle and thought it was a more difficult puzzle. Luokan ignored the system's response and read the words in the letter. To put it simply, this is a farewell letter from Rukia. She already knew the trend of the Soul Society, so in order to avoid causing trouble to Ichigo, she chose to leave alone. So it wasn't that I left without saying goodbye, Transformed Soul said lightly. Ichigo hit the table hard, and the transformed soul sat on the table in shock, complaining, "Hey, I'm still here, are you going to kill me?" Ichigo aimed his eyes at the transformation soul, and the transformation soul shook, and an ominous premonition struck. I saw that Ichigo stretched out his hand to transform the soul, and then took out the Yishin pill, and ate it without hesitation. Ready, Rukia is waiting for me. Ichigo was already dead, and he was going to bring Rukia back. Luokan was a little worried. If Yi was right, then the people sent by Soul Society must be highly capable people. It is really difficult for Ichigo to defeat the opponent now. Wait a minute, Ichigo, eat this. Luo Chen exchanged a life-saving pill from the system, which could allow the user to keep a breath and not die. Now that the time is pressing, Ichigo didn't hesitate to put theming Dan ate it, then jumped out of the window and left. I'll leave it to you at home. By the way, the strawberries are in the refrigerator. You can eat them yourself. Luo Chen left after finishing speaking. The reformed soul originally looked worried, but when he heard the strawberry, he immediately showed a greedy look, and saliva flowed out of his mouth, making Luokan leave quickly. You guy. Luokan was really defeated by the transformed soul. Nothing can stop a foodie's heart. When Luokan came out, Ichigo was nowhere to be seen, so now I can only find it myself, but I don't know if Ichigo will be able to find Rukia. System, sense Rukia's soul power again. Luo Chen could only rely on the system now. The system quickly sorted out the surrounding spirit power, and then picked out Rukia's spirit power. I'm sorry, although I didn't feel Rukia's soul power, but I found strange soul power around Ishida Yulong. The system reported the analysis results. Ishida Yulong, why is he near here? Luokan ran in the direction of Ishida Yulong with doubts in his heart. The distance was not very far, but Luokan arrived in 2 minutes. I didn't expect Rukia to be with Ishida Yuryu, but they only met by chance. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 836. Luokan walked up to Ishida Yulong and looked at him suspiciously. Before he said anything, Ishida Yulong explained it. Don't get me wrong. I just ran into Rukia here by chance. I didn't take her to escape. Ishida Yulong raised his hands, for fear of Luokan's misunderstanding. Luokan wasn't stupid enough to misunderstand Ishida Yulong. He smiled lightly, and said lightly, don't worry, I won't doubt you, we are partners, right? Ishida Yulong was stunned for a moment. The word, partner, was really too far away for him. He never thought that he would have a partner. Suddenly, he was moved when he heard Luokan say this to him. You guy, since you also have the ability of a Quincy, I will admit that you are my partner. Ishida Yulong said stubbornly. It's all right now, Rukia is back, and Yuryu Ishida has admitted that he is a partner. Now everyone is happy and can go home and sleep. Just when Luokan was happy, 2 huge murderous auras came over, and Ishida Yulong also put on a vigilant look, and a spiritual bow appeared in his hand quickly ready to attack. It turns out that Rukia was bewitched by you. I will never forgive you, Tilda. A death god with hair tied up said fiercely. There was also an indifferent death god standing behind him. Asanjing Renji, the vice captain of the 6th division of the 13th team, secretly loves Rukia, and the Zanpakuto is Shiwaimaru. Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of the 6th division of the 13th team, is Rukia's righteous brother, and Zanpakuto is Senbon Sakura. The system simply reported the information of the 2 people. Luokan smiled lightly. No wonder they were so angry. A brother, a crush, would definitely be anxious when he saw that the person he liked hasn't gone back for so long. Rukia's face was very ugly, and she panicked and asked Luochen and Ishida Yulong to leave quickly. Why, are they so scary? Luo Chen looked at the 2 of them, but it was okay, but the second one was a little scary, but the others were fine. After seeing Luo Chen, Renji frowned tightly. Without saying a word, she took out the Zanpakuto and pointed it at Luo Chen, and asked excitedly, you are the one who made Rukia incapacitated, so you should die quickly. Saying that, Renji cut towards Luokan. Ishida Yulong finally got a companion. How could Luokan die? So he pulled a bow and shot an arrow, forcing Renji back. Quichin, don't meddle in your own business. This is an internal matter of our god of death. If you don't want to die, get out of here. Renji said disdainfully. Ishida Yulong hates death the most, and he wants to have a test with death, and now is just an opportunity. Diaresis, I'm sorry. I hate death the most, and I don't allow you to attack my companion. Ishida Yulong pushed his glasses and replied indifferently. Luokan shook his head and looked at the two of them, not knowing why the atmosphere suddenly became like this. Are you Zhao? Wait first, aren't you here to protect Rukia? Luokan asked suspiciously. Ever since Yi said the rules of the Soul Society, Luokan began to worry that Rukia would be threatened, so when I saw Renji and Byakuya, I thought they were here to protect Rukia. Renji naturally also wanted to protect Rukia, but the Soul Society has the rules of the Soul Society, and no matter what, they cannot break the rules. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 837. Of course we are here to protect Rukia, but that's what happened after we brought her back to the Soul Realm, so don't meddle in your own business. Now only by killing you can Rukia's guilt be lessened. Renji said excitedly. When Renji heard that the mission this time was to capture Rukia, she felt extremely sad. Although she couldn't bear it, she still came. Because he was afraid that the other gods of death would kill Rukia on the spot. Luokan was at a loss. Why killing himself would ease Rukia's guilt, it's really inexplicable. Wait, Luo Chen wanted to explain something, but Renji didn't give him the chance at all. Renji has now identified as falling dust. It is the person who absorbs Rukia's power, so killing Luokan can restore Rukia's power to the god of death. Renji quickly charged towards Luokan with his Zanpakuto, but Luokan did not defend. Ishida Yulong pulled Luokan back and pulled the bow to shoot arrows. Luokan was also stunned by this movement. Hey, if you have something to say, why do you have to do it? Luokan thinks that since they are all human beings, why can't they communicate well? Not force can solve everything. Nothing to say. Renji kept waving the Zanpakuto to attack Ishida Yuryu. Ishida Yulong originally had enemies against the god of death, so naturally he had nothing to say. Ishida Yulong was injured before, and now every time he draws the bow, the wound on his hand deepens, and the blood has flowed to the ground through the gauze. Ishida Yulong, don't be brave anymore, run quickly and leave me alone. Rukia said sadly, she is the person who knows the strength of Renji and Byakuya best, and I don't want Ishida Yulong and Luokan to be hurt because of herself. How could Ishida Yuryu listen to Rukia's words? He must defeat this abominable god of death. Swish swish, Ishida Yulong fired 3 arrows in a row, and the spiritual arrow charged straight at Renji. Renji didn't mean to dodge at all. He charged over with his Zanpakuto, shot down Yulong Ishida's spiritual arrow directly, and then stabbed Yulong Ishida in the shoulder. Ishida Yulong! Rukia cried out in pain, and quickly stood up to check on Ishida Yulong's condition. Renji was very dissatisfied with Rukia's behavior, and said loudly, Rukia, leave them quickly. Your current behavior will only make your guilt aggravated, and it will only make them more deeply implicated. Rukia was stunned for a moment, then took 2 steps back in panic. She knew this, so she left without saying goodbye, not wanting to involve Luokan and the others. Luo Chen looked a little silly on the side. He originally hoped for a peaceful solution, but now it seems that there is no need for that. Asanjing Renji, Luokan said coldly, exuding powerful soul power with a dark face. Renji was also frightened by Luokan's soul power. She instantly understood that this soul power was not obtained from Rukia, and hurriedly explained. I thought you got the power from Rukia to attack, but why do you have the power of the god of death? Byakuya watched Luokan from the side. He was also very curious about why Luokan had the power of the god of death, and such a powerful person should be very famous, but he didn't know it. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 838. XXX. Luokan smiled faintly, pointed to Ishida Yulong and said to Renji, "Just by admitting the wrong person, you can hurt innocent people casually. By admitting the wrong person, you can erase everything. You gods of death are too self-righteous." Luokan now somewhat understands Ishida Yulong's thoughts. Before, he used to think that the god of death was someone with powerful abilities, holding the strong and helping the weak. "Then what do you want? Do you want to fight?" Renji held the Zanpakuto tightly, sweat dripping from his forehead, and he was very nervous. Rukia should worry about Renji this time. Although she didn't fully understand Luokan's strength, she knew that it was impossible for Renji to defeat Luokan now. "Renji, don't fight Luokan, you can't beat him." This sentence has a counterproductive effect on Renji. There is a man who doesn't want to show off in front of the woman he likes, but now the woman he likes says that the other party is powerful. No man can stand it. "Luokan, although I don't know who you are, but today we must take Rukia away," Renji said and rushed out with his Zanpakuto. Luokan snorted coldly. Renji's movements were so slow that he could dodge even with his eyes closed. But in order to teach this arrogant guy a lesson, Luo Chen took action. When Renji rushed to Luokan, Luokan gently turned to one side, raised his fist and hit Renji's stomach tilde. "Wow tilde," Renji vomited blood, and the Zanpakuto also fell to the ground. He lay on the ground for a long time and recovered, but he couldn't come back. Byakuya's icy eyes flashed a hint of surprise. He already felt Luokan's strength, but he didn't expect Renji to be defeated without even being able to take a single blow. Seeing that Renji was defeated, Byakuya immediately summoned the Zanpakuto and wanted to fight. Byakuya's strength is much higher than Renji's. If he were to take action, Rukia might be implicated, so Renji reluctantly stood up to protect Rukia. "Let me leave Captain Kuchiki here, you don't need to take action." Renji stepped forward and stretched out his hand to stop Byakuya. He would not let Rukia get hurt again. Luokan also saw what Renji meant, so he no longer planned to take action, and silently walked to Ishida Yulong's side to help him heal. "Thank you, Luokan," Ishida Yulong said awkwardly. It was the first time he was taken care of by someone else. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Luo Chen said lightly, "It's me who should be thanked. It's you who helped me resist the attack. Thank you. Leave the rest to me." Luokan quickly helped Ishida Yulong to rebandage, and then put him set aside to rest. After everything was dealt with, Luo Chen faced Renji again and said indifferently, "Aren't you going to leave? Rukia won't leave it to you." Renji's expression was very ugly. He knew that he couldn't beat Luokan, but he didn't want Rukia to be hurt. While Renji was in a dilemma, Ichigo's voice came. "Hey, you really love to make trouble for me, and you made me look for it for so long." Ichigo raised his Zanpakuto to complain to Rukia. Seeing Ichigo, Rukia shouted excitedly, "Idiot, what are you doing here? They will kill you." Rukia knew that Renji would choose to kill Ichigo in order to help herself, but she didn't want to see Ichigo killed. 100 million. Chapter 839. Ichigo didn't seem to care. Luokan and Ishida Yulong had both worked to save Rukia. How could he be a tortoise? And he wasn't afraid of people from the Soul Society at all. "It turns out that you are the one who absorbed Rukia's power. Boy, your time of death has come." Renji felt the familiar power from Ichigo and immediately understood the situation. Ichigo glanced at Renji disdainfully, completely turning a deaf ear to his provocation, and saw Yulong Ishida frowning beside him. "You hurt him like this?" Renji replied disdainfully, "So what, do you want to avenge him too?" Naturally, Ichigo wanted to avenge Ishida Yulong, but seeing Renji's tragic appearance, he felt a little sympathetic to him. You were beaten by Luokan, right? Ichigo knew what was going on when he saw Luokan's murderous appearance. He had never seen Luokan's appearance before. Renji roared in embarrassment, "Fuck, I will definitely defeat you all, and bring Rukia back." Saying that, Renji called out Zanpakuto's name. I saw that Renji's Zanpakuto instantly became retractable like a snake, and the attack distance also increased. What? Ichigo didn't know that Zanpakuto had such a function, so he was really taken aback. Zanpakuto is unsealed in 2 stages. The first stage is the initial solution, which can stimulate the true power of the Zanpakuto. The second stage is the dissolution, which can make the Zanpakuto materialize. The system gave Luokan to spread knowledge. Luokan asked back, "Why can't I do both?" The system said helplessly, "Your 9 tails can already be solved, but you just don't know it." Luokan always thought that 9 tails could be embodied because it is a pet relationship, but he didn't expect it to be a solution relationship. Roar, Shiamaru. Renji swung the Zanpakuto and attacked Ichigo. The current situation is a very good way for Renji to find the direction. He doesn't have to fight the powerful fallen dust, and he doesn't have to worry about hurting Rukia. Ichigo was dodging in a panic, but Renji's Shiamaru was able to stretch, which made it too late for Ichigo to dodge completely, and was knocked back several meters before stopping. "Boy, if I don't call out your Zanpakuto's name, I'll be rude," Renji said indifferently. He didn't want to win disgracefully. How did Ichigo know that Zanpakuto still has a name? So he looked at Rukia suspiciously, wanting to get some information from her. Rukia sighed. She didn't plan to make Ichigo a god of death all the time, so she didn't tell him that Zanpakuto still has this form, and it was too late to explain. HMPH, it seems that you don't know what your Zanpakuto is called, so I'm welcome. Renji waved Shiamaru and rushed out. Ichigo, no matter what name he has, as long as he uses his courage, he will definitely be able to defeat the enemy. Ichigo rushed out holding the Zanpakuto and competed head-on with Renji. Renji is a battle-hardened vice captain who can flexibly use the power of Shiamaru, so Renji used the air to launch the attack this time, using the weight of his body to strengthen the power of the attack. However, Ichigo blocked this move. Chapter 840. Boy, not bad. Renji suddenly showed a smug smile. I saw Renji unleashing the strength of Shiamaru, and the Zanpakuto stretched out a piece, quickly slashing Ichigo's arm. Ichigo cried out in pain, blood continuously flowing from his shoulders. Seeing this scene, Rukia was very sad and shouted sadly, "Ichigo!" Luokan also hurriedly stepped forward to help, but was rejected by Ichigo. Ichigo planned to rescue Rukia himself. Who made him bear Rukia's power? Ichigo, don't be too reluctant, their strength cannot be underestimated. Luo Chen said worriedly. Ichigo said firmly, no matter how strong the opponent is, I will definitely defeat them, After speaking, Ichigo rushed out, and with his beliefs, he burst out with powerful soul power, which surprised Renji and Byakuya. Taking advantage of Renji's astonishment, Ichigo knocked off the Shiamaru in his hand, and then used his fist to knock Renji aside. Ishida Yuryu was shocked by Ichigo's power. He had seen Luokan defeat Renji before, and now he saw Ichigo defeat Renji, but he was defeated by Renji. The gap in his ability made him feel in his heart, very unwilling. Damn, Ishida Yulong secretly made up his mind to go to special training after today. Renji lay on the ground panting and looked at Ichigo. Although Ichigo knew that Ichigo wanted to protect Rukia, such protection was ineffective. Only by returning her to the Soul Realm could she truly be protected. HMPH, I won, you guys hurry up and get out. Ichigo said proudly, although his body also suffered huge damage, but in order to protect Rukia, he could ignore these. Rukia was very moved. She didn't expect that Ichigo, who had been arguing with her on weekdays, would care about her so much. Enough, let's go, I have decided to go back to the Soul Realm with them. Rukia said suddenly indifferently. Rukia had already seen Byakuya Kuchiki in action, so she had to let them go before he hurt Ichigo. Idiot, what are you talking about? We came here specially to save you. Ichigo shouted excitedly. He didn't expect Rukia to want to know the soul world. Byakuya suddenly appeared in front of Ichigo, raised his sword and hit Ichigo. Byakuya's speed is very fast. If Luokan didn't have a bloody eye, he probably wouldn't know what Byakuya did. Ichigo's left shoulder was injured by Renji just now, and this time Byakuya cut Ichigo's right shoulder again, and now Ichigo can no longer hold the Zanpakuto. Ichigo! Rukia cried out in pain when she saw that Ichigo was hurt. Luokan hurried over to treat Ichigo, but Byakuya's attack hadn't stopped. He launched an attack on Luokan. Luo Chen backhanded with a palm strike, knocking out the Zanpakuto in Byakuya's hand, and then swept his legs to attack Byakuya's lower plate. Byakuya was indeed a little careless. He forgot the soul power radiated before Luo Chen, and immediately stepped back when he saw the Zanpakuto falling. Ichigo hold back. Luokan used the system's special medicine to bandage Ichigo. Although the effect was very good, the pain was also very strong. Ah tilde, Ichigo cried out in pain. Byakuya's icy eyes have been watching Luo Chen's every move, wanting to attack when he is neglected. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 841. Nine Tails. Luo Chen would not give him such a chance, so he immediately called out the Nine Tails for defense. D-Solution. Renji was shocked when she saw the Nine Tails. She didn't expect Luo Chen to have a D-Solution. No wonder she couldn't beat him. At first Rukia thought that Nine Tails was just a spirit beast that Luokan had subdued, but now she suddenly woke up when she heard Renji say that. Who the hell are you? Rukia's pupils dilated, wondering about Luokan's identity. Even if ordinary people have the power of the god of death, it is not surprising, but those who can use the D-Solution must not be able to do it for ordinary people. Byakuya moved quickly, but the Nine Tails could accurately block Byakuya's attack every time, which made Byakuya very unhappy. It's a joke. Juwei is Luokan's partner for many years. Luokan may not be able to beat Juwei. How could a mere Byakuya be Juwei's opponent? Luokan quickly finished dressing Ichigo, moved his fingers, stood up stubbornly and threatened to defeat Byakuya. No, no, Ichigo, please leave quickly, don't get hurt because of me tilde. Rukia cried out in pain. How could Ichigo ignore Rukia, raise his Zanpakuto and charge out? At this time, Byakuya was also extremely tired of being blocked by the Nine Tails. He picked up the Zanpakuto and wanted to release its true power. Before he could say anything, Rukia suddenly stood up and blocked between the two. Rukia said firmly, Ichigo, leave quickly, don't follow if you don't want to die. After speaking, Rukia walked towards the passageway of Soul Society. Byakuya's mission was to capture Rukia, and now that Rukia can voluntarily leave with him, he no longer pays attention to Ichigo and them. Stop! Ichigo couldn't watch Rukia being taken away in front of his eyes. Ichigo rushed out holding the Zanpakuto. Byakuya glanced back at Ichigo, and immediately took out the Zanpakuto to attack. With one slash, Ichigo's Zanpakuto was chopped to pieces, and Ichigo also had a stab wound on his body. PFF tilde, blood spurted out from Ichigo's chest, and Ichigo's body also leaned back. Although Rukia knew that Ichigo was injured, in order to avoid causing him more damage, she reluctantly left. Lu, Chi, Ya. Ichigo stared at Rukia tightly, and stretched out a hand to grab Rukia, but everything was in vain for him. Before falling to the ground, Luokan caught Ichigo in time. Looking down, Ichigo had lost consciousness, but he was still muttering Rukia's name. Diaresis Y. Renji got up from the ground and walked towards the entrance of Soul Realm, gradually disappearing from Luokan's sight. Luokan also wanted to catch up, but he couldn't leave the injured Ichigo and Iryu Ishida alone. and Rukia left with them voluntarily, so Luokan couldn't force Rukia to stay. Just like that, Rukia left the world, did Zhao, while Luokan brought Ichigo and Ishida Yuryu to Kazuki Urahara's place for healing. His injury is so serious. Yi was really taken aback. He didn't expect that the Soul Society would send Byakuya to capture Rukia. Dusty helpless, he sighed. It was too late to say anything now. XXX. Chapter 842. As soon as Ichigo woke up, he shouted Rukia's name loudly, and Luo-chen helplessly told him that Rukia had been taken away. No, it's impossible. Why did you let Rukia be taken away by them with your ability so strong? Ichigo questioned Luokan excitedly. Luokan sighed, not wanting to tell Ichigo the truth. Urahara Kazuki saw that Ichigo was so excited, and Luokan didn't say that he really wanted to feel sorry for Ichigo, and said lightly, Rukia is doing this to protect you, she doesn't want you to be hurt again for her. Urahara Kazuki's remarks hit Luokan deeply, and he collapsed on the bed. Ichigo. Luokan couldn't bear to see Ichigo like this, and wanted to comfort him. Urahara Kazuki took Luokan to the next room, and Yoichi was here too. I originally wanted to entrust Ichigo's special training job to you, but now it seems that you are not up to the task, so I'll do it. Urahara Kazuki changed his past laughter and negotiated with Luokan very seriously. Luokan also thought that he was not suitable for teaching people, so he agreed without hesitation. Well, if you agree, pay the fee. Urahara Kazuki folded his arms in front of his chest to restore the look of a fortune fan, and looked at Luokan with a look of good money. Luokan didn't want others to take him for a long time, so he looked at Kazuki Urahara indifferently, exuding a lot of murderous aura, and said coldly, "What did you just say?" Urahara Kazuki immediately took a few steps back in fright, waved his hands to please him and said, "It's nothing, nothing, I said leave it to me and you can rest assured." Luo-chen nodded with satisfaction, and said to Yi, "How are you finding your competent people? Do you want me to bring them over to show you?" Luokan had already told Yaiki about Chadu and Orihime before. If the two of them can improve their strength, they should become Ichigo's very powerful helpers. Yi shook her head. She should go and observe it herself. If she finds that the other party is not suitable, she can avoid some embarrassment. Okay, let's go now. Luokan couldn't wait for a moment now. He didn't know Rukia's situation, so he was very worried. Urahara Kazuki said lightly from the side, "Actually, you don't have to worry. According to the way of doing things in the Soul Society, it should take a month to kill Rukia, so we have plenty of time." Luokan felt speechless after hearing Kazuki Urahara's words, and always had the feeling that he wanted to slap him. "Have you figured out how to train Ichigo?" Luo-chen asked emotionlessly. Urahara Kazuki shook his head. He only knew a little about Ichigo's abilities, and he hadn't checked the others in detail. "Then why are you still standing here? Hurry up." Luo-chen's indifferent look is more frightening than anger. Urahara Kazuki didn't dare to say a word. He pushed open the door and ran out. He really regretted agreeing to this errand. This is good, not earning a penny, and being used as a coolie by others. Yi couldn't help laughing at Luo-chen's appearance, but Luo-chen was a little embarrassed. "What are you laughing at?" Luo-chen scratched his head. He couldn't be fierce towards Yi. Although her appearance was just a black cat, Luo-chen clearly knew that she was a girl. Yi replied, "It's nothing, I just feel that the old dust is coming back." Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 843. Luokan felt embarrassed to hear Yi say that. He didn't know whether it was because of his appearance that the original Luokan disappeared, or if the original Luokan disappeared and he was replaced. "I just randomly found a body for the host to use. It is impossible for a living person's body to be selected," the system explained to Luokan. Hearing the system say that, Luo-chen felt more comfortable. "I'll take you to see Orihime and Chado now tilde." Luokan originally wanted to recommend Xiaoli, but thinking that Xiaoli can only see the void, and has no ability to manifest, so she was excluded. Yes. Yi nodded, but she found that someone seemed to be looking for Luokan. Is Luokan here? Is it convenient to chat? Ishida Yulong's voice came from outside the door. Falling dust is naturally convenient, just let Ishida Yulong come in. Yi whizzed away, she wanted to observe what kind of person the other party was. Ishida Yulong walked in and knelt in front of Luokan, pushed his glasses and said solemnly, "Thank you very much for helping me heal my wound. I'm very sorry for what happened to Rukia." Luokan sighed, "This matter has nothing to do with Ishida Yulong. You don't have to blame yourself for Rukia. It's my responsibility for not being able to save her. As for the wound, that guy Urahara Kazuki helped you heal, so you're thanking the wrong person." Luokan said lightly. Ishida Yulong shook his head. He had a very clear memory of the treatment Luokan gave him at that time, but Luokan was reluctant to admit that it was because he didn't want to feel that he owed others. "I'm going to do special training. If you're going to save Rukia, let me know," Ishida Yulong said. The corner of Luokan's mouth twitched upwards, showing a smile, and watched Yulong Ishida leave. Bang dang, the door was closed, and Yi also ran out of the hiding place. "He's a good young man. He looks very capable and promising," Yi praised. Luo Chen was very interested in what Yi suddenly hid, and asked curiously, "Why did you suddenly run away?" Yi replied embarrassedly, "I'm used to it. I've been chased by the enemy before, so when I heard the wind blowing grass, I acted on my own." Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Luo Chen looked at Yi's shy smile and couldn't laugh at it. How much danger did he have to encounter to make people react like that? "Oh, you don't have to worry anymore. Everything is over, I'm fine now." Yi looked at Luo Chen's sad face and comforted him, not wanting him to worry about himself. Luokan smiled reluctantly, stood up and prepared to take Yaiki to find Chato and Orihime. 0. "Let's go," Luo Chen said vigorously. Yi followed Luo Chen's back tightly and walked outside. Luokan contacted Orihime and Chato through his mobile phone, and agreed to meet at a cafe to tell them about Rukia being taken away. When the two heard that Rukia was taken away on the phone, they were immediately surprised, hung up the phone and ran to the agreed place. Luokan came to the cafe first, and Yi naturally hid in the dark to observe. Yi is really careful, Luo Chen complained in his heart. 100 million. Chapter 844. After a while, Chadu came first, and Luo Chen briefly talked about what happened yesterday. Chadu's already dark face became even darker. The atmosphere of the entire cafe became extremely low because of Chadu's relationship, and the people around looked at Chadu in fear, fearing that he would do something to hurt others. "Ah, don't worry so much, there is still a solution to the matter," Luo Chen said embarrassedly. "If things go on like this, the boss of the cafe will probably drive them away." As soon as Chadu heard that things had turned around, his face relaxed a little, and the surrounding guests even more relaxed. But they didn't dare to stay here any longer, and ran out of the cafe one after another. This. Luo Chen didn't know what to say when he saw this scene. He felt that the boss was staring at him with resentment. At this time, Orihime arrived. As soon as she entered the door, she found that there were only Luokan and Chadu, so she asked curiously, "Why are there so few people here?" "This cafe is usually crowded with people, but today there are very few people." Luokan smiled awkwardly. He really didn't know what to explain, so he could only look at Chadu with helpless eyes. Chadu looked at the surrounding situation indifferently, and then asked doubtfully, "Is it because of me?" Although Luo Chen wanted to nod his head, he couldn't hurt Chadu's self-esteem, so he quickly changed the subject. Yi laughed in the corner, feeling that Chadu had a bit of a dusty demeanor, and being angry could shock the people around him. "You said Rukia was taken away." Orihime reacted more than Chadu when she heard the news, and excitedly approached Luokan to ask for the details. Luokan really convinced these two people. Chadu was better, at least it wouldn't affect him, and Orihime completely frightened him. Yi couldn't help laughing when he saw that Orihime was able to scare Luo Chen, and really wanted to run up and say hello to them. Calm down, Orihime, keep calm. Luo Chen embarrassedly asked Orihime to sit down first. As soon as Orihime sat down, the owner of the cafe came over. Since the continuous disturbances on Luokan's side have seriously affected his business, there are many customers outside who dare not enter the store because of their presence, so the boss issued an order to evict them. Luo Chen was very speechless and led Chadu and Orihime out of the cafe, and could only find a place where no one was there to continue explaining the situation. It took Luokan a long time to explain the ins and outs of the matter, and the rest depends on the choice of Chadu and Orihime. Yi suddenly jumped out at this time and greeted Chadu and Orihime. Cats can actually talk, Orihime asked in surprise. She was really taken aback. Just now, Yi thought that Orihime's courage was extraordinary, but she didn't expect to break her power so quickly, which was really disappointing to Yi. What's so curious about cats talking? Yi roared loudly. There are so many strange things in this world. What's wrong with a cat that can talk? Besides, she's not a real cat. Luokan gave a wry smile and introduced Yoichi to Chadu and Orihime. This is Yoichi. If you want to help Ichigo save Rukia, then she will be your future teacher. Orihime nodded, but it happened so suddenly, she still had to think about it. Chapter 845. Chadu agreed immediately. He may not have any feelings for Rukia, but he has unusual feelings for Ichigo. Crossing the appearance has always been intimidating. Ichigo is his first official friend, and it is also because Ichigo can be friends with Asakusa, Mizuhiro, etc., so he will definitely help Ichigo. Orihime was a little embarrassed when she saw that Chadu had agreed so quickly, with a tangled look on her face. It doesn't matter, Orihime. If you try too hard, no one will blame you. After all, 22 is going to the Soul World this time, which is a very dangerous place. Luokan comforted Orihime. Yaiki also gave Orihime a day to think about it. She didn't want people who didn't have firm beliefs to follow her to study, which would not only harm herself, but also her companions. By the way, Ishida Yuryu, let's invite him to join us for special training. Orihime always felt that Ishida Yuryu was at ease, and Ishida Yuryu's ability was particularly powerful. Luokan said lightly, he has already started special training. If you want to do special training together, you can try it. Before Luokan, he didn't mention Yaiki with Ishida Yulong. After all, Yaiki is also the god of death, so I was worried that Ishida Yulong would resist Yaiki. Orihime happily said to Yoichi, Mr. Yoichi, let's go now. Mr. Yi. Luo Chen's head was full of question marks, wondering why Orihime thought of Yoichi as a man. Although Yi's voice is really like a boy, but if you listen carefully, you can still hear a touch of delicacy. In this way, Luokan and his party, led by Orihime, found Yuryu Ishida. Ishida Yuryu, do you want to have a special training with us, and then help Ichigo classmates to rescue Rukia? Orihime asked innocently. She thought it would be good to do everything with a group of people. Yu also liked Ishida Yuryu, so he also asked. Cats can talk. Ishida Yulong looked at Yoichi in surprise, surprised by the fact that cats can talk. Luokan smiled lightly. I don't know why they felt so strange about the cat being able to speak. Even Shu could speak, so why couldn't the cat speak? Yi saw another person who was surprised because he could speak, and immediately roared, instantly losing his goodwill towards Ishida Yulong. Yes, I'm sorry, I still have my own things to do, so I can't act with you. Just remember to let me know when you are leaving. Ishida Yulong pushed his glasses and rejected Orihime's invitation. Luokan knew that things would turn out like this. He felt a strong force when he saw the seal on the box behind Ishida Yulong, so he guessed that Ishida Yulong was going to undergo a very difficult special training, so he refused Orihime's invited. Orahime's face was a little disappointed, but they couldn't force it, so they left. Let's be like this today. I'll give you 2 days to think about it. I'll wait for you at the same place tomorrow morning, so be prepared. Yi said very seriously. She didn't want Chato and Orihime to take this as a fun thing and lose their lives during the battle. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 846. XXX. Orihime and Chato left, and Luokan asked Yei, how are the aptitudes of the two of them, and what are their abilities? Remorse, the two of them must have encountered situations where their companions were in danger. Yi said lightly. Luokan recalled what happened that day. It was true that Xiaoli and Long Zegui were both attacked by Shu, and it was at that time that Chato and Oriji burst into power. Well, is resentment a bad power? Luo Chen was afraid that this kind of power would hurt two people. If that was the case, Luo Chen would not hesitate to stop the two from conducting special training. Yi shook his head and sighed, explaining the power of resentment. The strength of Chato and Orihime comes from resentment against their own incompetence, which makes the power in their bodies explode, and it has no effect on the body. That's good. It would be good if Luo Chen knew that this power was safe. Suddenly Luokan thought of a question: can everyone awaken this kind of power? Of course it's impossible. Just like the existence of Quincy, there is a fixed genetic inheritance, so the parents of Orihime and Chato have such powers, but they haven't awakened Tilda. Yi continued to explain Road. Oh, Luo Chen thought he could call in a few more helpers, but now it seems that there is no drama. Yi looked at Luo Chen solemnly. Why are you looking at me like that? Luo Chen took a few steps back. It's not a good feeling to be stared at by a cat like that. Yi suddenly said softly, no matter what, your character of helping others has not changed, and you are always falling into the dust. Luo Chen was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly interrupted to go back to check on Ichigo. Just like that, Luo Chen and Yoichi returned to Urahara Kazuki's store. Is there no one? Luo Chen looked around the store but found no one, and shouted in confusion. Yi told Luo Chen to stop shouting, guessing that Kazuki Urahara was definitely helping Ichigo with special training, and the location was below. Below. Luo Chen lowered his head and looked at it carefully. He could indeed see that the floor was shaking slightly, and there was a slight sound of fighting. At night, he led Luokan to an underground passage. Ah, how did you know about this kind of place? Luo Chen looked at Yi suspiciously. She had only been here for a few days, and she could even find the underground passage. Yi said proudly, of course, don't underestimate the ability of cats. Luokan squinted his eyes. He didn't find this joke funny at all, instead he felt a little cold. Diaresis, you can find Kazuki Urahara and Ichigo by going down this passage. I still have some things to deal with, so I'll leave first. You have. Luokan ran away before Yi finished speaking. Ah, what the hell is going on? Is there a mouse in front of you? Luokan was amused by his own thought. Even if there were mice in front of him, Yi would not eat it. Luokan stretched out the passage to the underground. The underground space was really huge, 3 times as large as a baseball field. Yo, Luokan, you're back. As soon as Luokan entered the underground venue, Urahara Kazuki felt it. Kazuki Urahara can feel any disturbance on this venue. After all, he is the master here and can't control the overall situation. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 847. Luokan smiled lightly and saw that Xiaoyu was frantically chasing Ichigo. Ah, what's going on here? How did Ichigo become a god of death? Luo Chen was full of questions, but he had not seen him for a long time. Ichigo has undergone such a big change. It seems that Kazuki Urahara's teaching ability is really not formidable. Kazuki Urahara proudly showed his achievements, pointed to Ichigo and said, "He has now recovered the power of the god of death, and it can be said that he is a real god of death." So fast. Luo Chen thought it would take several days for Ichigo to recover, and then started exercising. Seeing Luoken's surprised expression, Urahara Kazuki immediately took out a long bill, which recorded all the medicines that Ichigo had used to restore his health, the funds for special training, and various subsequent expenses. "What do you mean?" Luo Chen stared at Kazuki Urahara cautiously, seeing that he meant that he wanted to pay for himself. Urahara Kazuki smiled. He knew that Luoken already understood, so he didn't speak. "By the way, I thought of one thing. Luo Chen would not be led by Kazuki Urahara so easily." Urahara Kazuki was really fooled, and immediately asked, "What's the matter?" Luoken raised his head, pretending to look into the distance, and said slowly, "I don't know how much money can be exchanged for taking you back to the Soul Realm. Is it enough to pay for these expenses?" Luoken suddenly turned his attention to Kazuki Urahara. Urahara Kazuki was already sweating when he heard Luoken say that, but he managed to escape to the world. How could he be captured? "No need, of course you don't need to pay for these expenses, Lord Luoken, you can rest assured." Urahara Kazuki came with a 180-degree change in attitude. Luoken nodded in satisfaction and continued, "Why do I feel thirsty?" Urahara Kazuki glared at Luo Chen fiercely. Why didn't he realize Luo Chen was such a scoundrel before? He was really different from the Luo Chen he knew before. "Let's go soon." Luo Chen glared at Kazuki Urahara fiercely. What else can Urahara Kazuki say? The ancestors that he provoked have to offer sacrifices even when crying. So Urahara Kazuki quickly ran to the top and brought a cup of tea. Luoken felt very happy when he saw Kazuki Urahara running around. Now Kazuki Urahara dared to take him as a bully again. It's almost the same as falling off the dust, so he asked Urahara Kazuki earnestly, "What are you doing with Ichigo now?" Kazuki Urahara replied with a serious expression, "Ichigo used Rukia's power of death before, and now I want to help him awaken the power of death in his body." Can Ichigo awaken by himself? Luo Chen was very surprised at this point of view. Urahara Kazuki shrugged helplessly. He didn't know why Ichigo was able to use the power of death. This is still an unknown mystery. "Okay, then I won't bother you with your special training. I'll go first." Luoken will also go to special training. Although he is also very capable now, most of his power comes from the Nine Tails. And his physical skills are a bit decadent. Kazuki Urahara breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Luoken's departure, and saw a strange smile suddenly appear on Ichigo's face. He wanted to scatter all the anger he received from Luoken's body on Yihu. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 848. Luoken was walking on the road alone. He was thinking about where to improve. While walking, Luo Chen suddenly saw Orihime, so he stepped forward to say hello. "Orihime, you're still hanging out alone at this late hour?" Luoken asked with concern. He was afraid of what danger Orihime might encounter. Orihime smiled. She was considering whether to undergo special training, which made her very confused. "Is there anything I can help you with? Don't let me tell you." Luoken asked sincerely. Orihime thought about it for a while, but she still expressed her troubles. Although strength can protect others, it can also hurt others. As an overly kind person, Orihime couldn't bear to hurt her even if the opponent was an enemy. "Orihime, you are really kind." Luoken praised sincerely. He had never seen such a thing before. A person who considers others. Orihime smiled embarrassedly. In fact, she thought that her point would bring trouble to others, so she always wanted to change it, but unfortunately she never succeeded. Luoken put forward his own opinion. If you want to protect others, you need enough strength. It is precisely because you have the strength that you can rescue Long's Tilda Gui in such a dangerous situation. Yes, in fact, I also want to help Ichigo, and I also want to rescue Rukia. Orihime said innocently. She didn't want to see Ichigo sad, so she hoped to use her own strength to protect he. Luokan smiled faintly, praising Orihime's kindness. I see. I'll be there on time tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow, Luokan. Orihime made up her mind and ran towards the house happily. Luokan suddenly remembered that there was no notification from Ichigo's house, so he hurried back. Brother Luokan, do you know where Brother Ichigo is? He hasn't come back so late. The wanderer said worriedly. She always had a bad premonition. Luokan smiled awkwardly, and had no choice but to lie, saying that Ichigo was practicing at a classmate's house, so he didn't come back during this time. Shali also looked at Luo Chen suspiciously, seeing his face, and always felt that something was wrong. Oh, so that's the case. The wanderer was still a little worried. Luokan was relieved to see that the wanderer had believed, but Shali cast a suspicious look, which made Luokan nervous again. He is not good at lying. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Is there something wrong with Shali? Shali shook her head and left without saying anything. In fact, she had already discovered that Luo Chen was lying, but she did not expose it. She knew that Luo Chen would not hurt Ichigo, so she was very relieved. Seeing Shali's figure leaving Luo Chen, he was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. He sat on the table and ate, but he was thinking about the special training. 0. Wanderer, if you have a superhuman ability, what do you hope to achieve? Luokan couldn't think of a good solution, so he could only ask the wanderer what he thought. The wandering child was taken aback by Luokan's question. She had fantasized about having superpowers many times, but she should think carefully about only one thing. Luo Chen looked at the wandering child who had been thinking about it for a long time without giving an answer, and smiled bitterly. Maybe this was really difficult for a little girl. I want to restore people's wounds and treat everyone's diseases. The wanderer said firmly. If she really had such superpowers, then her mother would not die. 100 million. Chapter 849. Luokan was taken aback by the wandering child's words. If all the people didn't die, then the soul realm was really going to close down. However, Luokan also got some inspiration from the words of the wanderer. System, is there any way to quickly restore the body's strength? Luokan asked the system. After the system searches and analyzes, the final answer is to make medicines. Pharmaceuticals, Luo Chen said indifferently. This bland and unremarkable answer was really surprising. Yes, master, if the master needs it, turn on the pharmaceutical system immediately to help the master. Luokan had nothing else to do anyway, so he let the system open the pharmaceutical system. Ding tilde the pharmaceutical system is turned on. Enter the teaching mode. Please state the name and function of the medicine. How did Luokan know about this? It was the first time for him to make medicine. Master, you can name the medicine by yourself, as long as you describe the effect of the medicine clearly, the system reminded. That's the case, tell me earlier. Luokan immediately reported the name of the medicine. Since it is a medicine that can quickly restore stamina, it should be a stamina medicine. As for the efficacy of the medicine, it can make people instantly full of vitality, mental strength, physical strength and many other states, and it cannot have any side effects. It would be best if the medicine could have various flavors. The system suddenly felt bad after listening to Luo Chen's series of descriptions. A medicine needs a different flavor, so do you think it's candy? Luo Chen felt that his request was too much, scratched his head and laughed embarrassedly. Unexpectedly, the system really has such a formula, but the materials for making this medicine are very difficult to find. No, the 1,000-year-old ginseng doesn't matter. Where are you going to find the mutated passion fruit? Luokan looked at the pharmaceutical materials and sighed, which is clearly difficult for the strong. The system replied helplessly. If your requirements can be reduced, the materials will be automatically reduced. Luokan repeated the request, removed all kinds of flavors, and immediately reduced more than a dozen herbs in the raw material column. Luokan looked at the search results and thought to himself, is it really too embarrassing, or good medicine is bitter? Now that the recipe has been obtained, it is time to act quickly. Luokan and Yuzi said goodnight and returned to their room, then ran out of the window and searched for herbs according to the system's instructions. Congratulations to the master for obtaining 10 dragon whiskers. Congratulations to the master for obtaining 10 ginseng whiskers. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 10 pure heart grass. Quote katakana middle dot 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 quote. XXX. In one night, Luokan searched for all the raw materials for making the medicine. Seeing that it was still a while before dawn, Luokan hurriedly started to make medicine. Luokan put all the materials he found in, and the refining furnace shook violently, making Luokan feel a little scared when he saw it. It won't explode, will it? Although the alchemy furnace was just a phantom projected by the system, Luo Chen still felt scared in his heart. The system really didn't know that Luo Chen's courage was so small, even a medicine refining furnace could scare him. It was really speechless to him. Ding! I succeeded in refining the medicine, and I got 2 bottles of physical strength medicine. Ellipsis 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 dot. Chapter 850. Luokan looked at the prompt given by the system, and instantly felt that his life was suffering. He worked so hard to make 2 bottles of medicine in one night. This production rate is too low. Luo Chen couldn't help complaining. The system can't do anything either. Who asked Luo Chen to have such a powerful potion? It's not easy to make 2 bottles. 2 bottles, just 2 bottles. Luokan sighed helplessly, and quickly checked the instructions for the stamina pill. Drug name: physical strength agent named by falling dust. Drug effect: however, patients with minor or serious injuries can instantly restore their full strength, and can pull back the life of patients who still have a breath. Drug maker: falling dust. Can you revive 22 people who are about to die? Luo Chen asked in surprise. He couldn't believe it. The effect of this potion was too powerful. If the system has an entity now, it will definitely give Luo Chen a big blank eye, and he doesn't even look at who made it for him. How could the effect of the potion be poor? It's great. This night is really worth it. Luokan was completely excited, and felt relieved for the hard work that night. While there was still some time left, Luo Chen quickly took a rest, and in a while, he was going to accompany Orihime and the others for special training. But Luo Chen was completely excited by the potent effect of the potion, lying on the bed completely unable to fall asleep. Master, I'll give you 2 bottles of medicine to help you sleep. There were 2 more bottles of medicine in Luokan's backpack in an instant. Luokan drank it without hesitation, and after 1 bottle fell, Luokan lay down and fell asleep. After a sleep, Luo Chen woke up full of energy. Unexpectedly, the sleeping pills sent by the system can not only help you fall asleep quickly, but also speed up the recovery of the body. It is really a good medicine for conscience. When Luokan came to the agreed place, Yi was already sitting on a tire waiting. Good morning Luokan, you seem to be in good spirits. Yi found that Luokan who entered was very energetic, and he was completely different from yesterday. Luokan laughed. All this was due to the system, if it weren't for its sleeping pills. It is estimated that Luo Chen is still lying in bed sleeping. The 2 were chatting when Orihime and Chato also came. Since everyone is here, let's go. Yi took the lead. Luokan asked suspiciously, where are we going? Yi replied lightly, of course it's a special training. Do you want me to teach them here? Luokan scratched his head and smiled embarrassedly. He really thought that Yaiki was going to teach Chato and Orihime here. Luo Chen and others led Yi to an empty building with no one. No one lives in this building, but the environment inside is still very good. I really don't know why it was left unused. How about it? Are you satisfied with the place I'm looking for? Yi said proudly, She left Luokan yesterday to find a venue for special training. It took a lot of effort for her to find such a place. Luokan is naturally quite satisfied, regardless of how impossible it is for him to accompany them in special training here all the time. It's really great, Mr. Yaiki has worked hard for you. Orihime clapped her hands and showed a sweet smile. Chadu also bowed to Yi, thanking Yi for finding such a good training venue for them. Okay, stop talking nonsense, let's use your abilities now and see. Now the time is short, Yi must hurry up.